Om Sambara Sambara Bimana Sarma Zavaba Hum Pe Soha. Om Sambara Sambara Bimana Sarma Zavaba Hum Pe Soha. Om Sambara Sambara Bimana Sarma Zavaba Hum Pe Soha. Scaring away a crow. A summary. Scaring away a crow. Violators, impostors, person labeled a pandaka, creatures, tirtikas, matricides, and patricides. Scaring away a crow. The Blessed Buddha was staying in Shravasti, in the Jetavana, Anathapindanda's park, when the ignorant Virudaka had slaughtered the Shakya inhabitants of Kapilavastu, although they had not been aggressive, antagonistic, or thieving. The two sons of the Venerable Ananda's younger sister were left orphaned and were wandering aimlessly when traders from Shravasti, on their way to Kapilavastu on business, recognized the two good-looking lads and asked, "Boys, where are your parents?" "They were killed by the ignorant Virudaka," they replied. "If your uncle, the famous monk known as Reverend Ananda, is staying in Shravasti, why don't you go there?" They replied, "Who would take us there? We will take you." After they traded their goods and made a profit, the traders set out for Shravasti with the two boys in tow. They left the boys at the gate of Jetavana, where the Venerable Ananda recognized them and asked, "Boys, where are your parents?" "They were killed by the ignorant Virudaka." Because Ananda cared for his kin, on hearing of their death, he became choked with tears. The monks asked him, "Venerable Ananda, who are these two lads?" "They are my sister's boys." "Why don't you take them in?" "I barely get enough from begging to fill my own stomach," he replied. "Where out there can I get enough to provide for them?" If these two boys offer the monks herbs, flowers, and fruits, in return the monks will give them the leftovers from their begging bowls. After being taken in, the boys began to offer the monks herbs, flowers, and fruits, and in return the monks gave them the leftovers from their begging bowls. After a few days of giving the two their leftovers, they stopped. So Ananda went out and about begging alms, but received only just enough to fill his own stomach. Eating half himself and giving the other half to the two boys, he became pallid, emaciated, feeble, withered, thin, and weak. Although they know, Blessed Buddhas may inquire about what they already know. Though they already know, they may inquire, or even though they know, they may not inquire. They inquire when the time is right, not when the time has passed. Their inquiries are meaningful, not meaningless. In this way, Blessed Buddhas dam the flow of meaningless inquiries. As Blessed Buddhas know the time for a meaningful inquiry, the Blessed Buddha asked the monks, "Monks, why has the monk Ananda become pallid, emaciated, feeble, withered, thin, and weak?" "Blessed One," they replied, "since the two sons of the Venerable Ananda's younger sister were orphaned, he has gone out, receiving only enough alms to fill his own mouth, half of which he takes for himself, while the other half he gives to them. This has reduced the Venerable Ananda to such a state. The Blessed One then asked the Venerable Ananda, "Will you not allow these two boys going forth?" Blessed One, "I will allow their going forth." The Blessed One decreed, "In light of that, I give permission for food given to the Sangha to be given to those wishing to go forth." After the Blessed One gave permission for food that has been given to the Sangha to be given to those wishing to go forth, the monks gave them food for a few days and then began to complain. The Blessed One then asked Ananda a second time, "Did you refuse to allow those two boys going forth?" "Reverend, the two of them are not yet 15. Can the two boys scare crows away from the Sangha's sleeping quarters?" "Reverend, they can throw stones." "In that case, Ananda, I give my permission to allow freely the going forth of those as young as 7 years old, provided they can scare away crows." Ananda then allowed the two to go forth. After Ananda's nephews went forth, Ananda began to teach them to read, but after a few days of study, they began to misbehave. The Venerable Madhyayana asked Ananda, "Why do you not make these two novices study?" "Elder," replied Ananda, "they do not listen to me. I do not know what to do. But I must compel these two novices to study." Madhyayana replied, "Elder, do as you say." So Ananda began to make the two novices study. But again, after a few days, the two of them began to misbehave, and Ananda asked Madhyayana, "Elder, why can I not make these two novices study?" "Ananda, these two will not yet listen to me either." "Elder, the two novices must be given a little scare." The Venerable Madhyayana said to the two novices, "Let's do our daily practice." "Yes, noble one." "Bring something to sit on." Madhyayana then took the two novices for their daily practice. On the way, Madhyayana conjured up an apparition of beings in the hell realms who cried out from being cut, sliced, crushed, and hacked to pieces. The two boys exclaimed, "Noble one, what is this?" "Have a closer look," he replied. The two of them approached and found what was being done there: the cutting, the slicing, the crushing, and the hacking to pieces. Some were being sliced apart by saws, some were being ground in mills, and some were being melted down in boiling vats. When they saw 2 boiling iron vats standing there empty, they asked, "Gentlemen, will no one be put into these 2? "No," they replied, "for the 2 sons of noble Ananda's sister have gone forth, and yet lazily pass their time. When their time has come and they die, they will be reborn here, so these 2 vats have been reserved for them." Terrified, they thought, "If we're recognized, they'll put us in those vats this very day," and began to look all about them. They went to Madhyayana, who asked, "Did you see something?" Noble one, we did. What? Beings in the hell realms. What were they doing there? They were doing all sorts of things. Cutting, slicing, crushing, hacking to pieces, they replied. There, some were being sliced apart by saws, some were being ground in mills, and some were being melted down in boiling vats. When we saw 2 boiling iron vats standing empty, we asked, "Gentlemen, will no one be put into these 2?" And they replied, "No, for the 2 sons of noble Ananda's sister have gone forth and yet lazily passed their time. When their time has come and they die, they'll be reborn here. So these 2 have been reserved for them." Then Mahamadhyayana advised, "Thus novices, knowing that disadvantages such as these, and others too, accrue from laziness, apply yourselves diligently." The 2 nephews began to apply themselves to their studies with diligence. If they thought of the beings in the hell realms in the morning, they would not even eat. If they thought of them in the afternoon, they would vomit up what they had eaten. Thus it was that the 2 of them became pallid, emaciated, feeble, withered, thin and weak. Mahamadhyayana said, "Ananda, the 2 have become dispirited. Elder, now they must be inspired." Mahamadhyayana said to the 2, "Novices, let's go for our daily practice." "Noble one," they replied, "we will go, but we will not return to that one place. Bring something to sit on." Mahamadhyayana then took the 2 novices for their daily practice. On the way, Mahamadhyayana conjured up an apparition of the gods, along with the sounds of the Vina, Ektara, Balari, Mahati, and Shugosak. The 2 boys exclaimed, "Noble one, what is this?" "Have a closer look," he replied. The 2 of them approached and followed the sounds of the Vina, Ektara, Balari, Mahati, and Shugosak, to where there stood 2 palaces strewn with beds and divans, replete with goddesses. Seeing no gods in either palace, they inquired, "Mistresses, are there no gods in either of these palaces?" "No, there are none." "Why is that?" "The 2 sons of noble Ananda's sister have gone forth, and since they act and apply themselves diligently, when their time has come and they die, they will be reborn here. So they too have been reserved for them." Overjoyed, they went to Mahamadhyayana, who again asked, "Did you see something?" "Noble one, we did." "What?" "Gods." "What were they doing?" "We could hear the sounds of the Vina, Ektara, Balari, Mahati, and the Shugosak, and found 2 palaces strewn with beds and divans, replete with goddesses, who said, 'The 2 sons of the noble Ananda's sister have gone forth, and since they act and apply themselves diligently, when their time has come and they die, they will be reborn here. So they too have been reserved for them." Then Mahamadhyayana advised, "Thus, novices, knowing that advantages such as these and others too accrue from diligence, apply yourselves." The 2 of them began to apply themselves to their studies and receive instructions. After a time, they came across the following passage in the Nidana Samyukta. Then, taking dirt from the tip of his fingernail, the Blessed One asked the monks, "Monks, what do you think? Which is more, the dirt I take from the tip of my fingernail, or the dirt that is upon this earth?" "Reverend, the dirt the Blessed One takes from the tip of his fingernail is less, much less, a great deal less, entirely less. If we use those specks to produce all the dirt on the earth, it would not amount to even 1/100th. It would not amount to a 1,000th of it, or a 100,000th of it. It would not equal, match, number, compare to, or cause it." "Monks," the Blessed One replied, "sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among hell realm beings, only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among hell realm beings and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among hell realm beings only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among hell realm beings and are reborn as humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among hell realm beings only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among hell realm beings and are reborn as humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among hell realm beings only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among hell realm beings and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among hell realm beings only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among hell realm beings and are reborn as gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among hell realm beings only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among hell realm beings and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among animals only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among animals and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among animals only to be reborn among hell beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on top of my fingernail die among animals and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among animals only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among animals and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among animals only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among animals and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among animals only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among animals and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among animals, only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings, equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail, die among animals and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among spirits, only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among spirits and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among spirits, only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among spirits and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among spirits only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among spirits and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among spirits only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among spirits and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among spirits only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among spirits and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among spirits only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among spirits and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among gods only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among gods and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among gods only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among gods and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among gods only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among gods and are reborn among gods. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among humans only to be reborn among hell realm beings, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among humans and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among humans only to be reborn among animals, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among humans and are reborn among humans. Sentient beings equal in number to the particles of dirt on the earth die among humans only to be reborn among spirits, while sentient beings equal in number only to the particles of dirt on the tip of my fingernail die among humans and are reborn among humans. Upon reciting this chapter, called Repeating Like a Wheel, the two boys asked Mahamadhyayana, "Noble one, will we too die among gods and humans only to be reborn among hell realm beings, animals, and spirits?" Gentlemen, so long as the continuum of disturbing emotions remains uninterrupted, you must spin like a water wheel through the cycle of 5 migrations. Disheartened, they spoke this verse: "Being a god who cannot stay a god is no good. Being a human whose life is short is no good. Being in samsara where there is no peace is no good. That is why," said the Sugata, "Nirvana is supreme. Noble one, henceforth, come what may, as we cycle through samsara, we must avoid engaging with such disturbing emotions. So please, we ask that you teach us the Dharma." Mahamadhyayana knew their thoughts, their tendencies, their characters, and their natures. Drawing on all he had heard, he taught them the Dharma, so that they abandoned all disturbing emotions and actualized arhatship, becoming arhats free of attachment to the three realms, for whom filth was equal to gold, who knew space like the palm of their hands, whose emotions had been cooled as if treated by a balm of sandalwood, whose knowledge had rent open the shell. They attained knowledge, clairvoyance, and discerning wisdom. They turned their backs on worldly gain, desires, and esteem, and were venerated, honored, and saluted by Indra and the gods who attend him. When the monks saw the two novices miraculously flying through the air, picking flowers, they asked one another, "Venerables, who are those two?" One said, "They're the two novices kin to Ananda. Our begging bowls are black with wear, our teeth are falling out, and our hair turns gray, and yet we have not achieved even stillness of mind. Venerable, if these two were but 7 years old when they went forth and yet abandoned all disturbing emotions and actualized arhatship, then the Blessed One spoke well when he said, 'Ananda, awakening is attained through diligence.'" In doubt, the monks went to he who severs all doubts, the Blessed Buddha, and asked, "Reverend, what actions have these two novices done that the fruition of such an act should lead them to go forth at the mere age of 7, and that the Blessed One exempted them alone from the Vinaya guidelines he laid down for his disciples, allowing them to abandon all disturbing emotions and actualize arhatship?" The Blessed One responded, "Monks, these two themselves performed the actions, which have accrued a heap of karma, whose results have matured, which followed their course like an irrigation channel, which inevitably come to be. So who else will experience the actions they themselves have performed and accrued? Monks, actions which have been performed and accrued do not ripen upon the external elements. They do not ripen upon the element of water, upon the element of fire, nor upon the element of wind. Likewise, virtuous and non-virtuous actions, which have been performed and accrued, come to fruition upon the aggregates, elements, and seats of the senses of the one who performed them. For actions never waste away, not even after 100 eons. When the time and conditions are right, they alight upon embodied beings. Monks, earlier in this fortunate eon, when the lifespan of beings lasted 20,000 years, there appeared in the world a teacher, a Tathagata, an Arhat, a perfectly awakened Buddha, a knowledgeable and venerable one, a Sugata, one who knew the world, an unsurpassed guide who tamed beings, a teacher to gods and men, the Blessed Buddha, Kashyapa. With his following of 20,000 monks, he lived and stayed in the deer park of Rishipatana near Varanasi. In Varanasi there lived 2 householders and friends who had wished to go forth in their youth, but had not received leave to go forth from their relatives. At a certain point, after their youth had faded, they abdicated in favor of their relatives and went forth into the teachings of the perfectly awakened Buddha Kashyapa. As was natural given their junior status, they were always expected to perform errands, and so the monks would order them about, saying, "You 2 old-timers, go do this, and you 2 old-timers, bring me that." One of them had a placid nature, but the other was quick-tempered. Thus, when the one became angry, the other would say, "Old-timer, if you couldn't go forth when you were young, why get angry now?" Though they lived the holy life for the remainder of their lives, they did not achieve any of the host of qualities. So later, as they died, they said this prayer: "We have lived the holy life for what remained of our lives under the Blessed One, the Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly awakened Buddha, the hallowed and unsurpassed Kashyapa. But we have achieved none of the host of qualities. Therefore, may the roots of virtue, from having lived the holy life for what remained of our lives, ensure that at the mere age of 7, we go forth into the teachings of the blessed Buddha Shakyamuni, whose coming has been foretold in a prophecy that the blessed Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly awakened Buddha Kashyapa, gave to a wonderful Brahmin boy. In the future, when the lifespans of beings last 100 years, you, Brahmin boy, will become the Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly awakened Buddha, the knowledgeable and venerable one, the Sugata, the one who knows the world, the unsurpassed guide who tames beings, the teacher to gods and men, the blessed Buddha Shakyamuni. And further, may the Blessed One exempt us alone from the Vinaya guidelines he laid down for his disciples, allowing us to abandon all disturbing emotions and actualize arhatship. Monks, the 2 householders of that time, are now these 2 novices, and due to the prayer that they made, they have gone forth at the mere age of 7, and I have exempted them alone from the Vinaya guidelines I laid down for my disciples, allowing them to abandon all disturbing emotions and actualize arhatship. Violators. While the blessed Buddha was journeying and passing through Kashi, he arrived at a place and smiled. As it is natural when blessed Buddhas smile, blue, yellow, red, white, maroon, crystalline, and silvery rays of light emerge from their mouths, some streaming downwards and some streaming upwards. Those that stream downwards proceeded to the hell realms of Samjiva, Kalashutra, Jangata, Rarava, Mahararava, Tapana, Pratapana, Vichi, Arbuda, Nirarbuda, Atata, Pahava, Uhuva, Utpala, Padma, and Mahapadma. Alighting on and cooling those in the hot hells, and alighting on and warming those in the cold hells, these rays of light interrupted the various harms inflicted on those hell realm beings, prompting the denizens of hell to think, "Gentlemen, what is this? Have we died, moved on, and taken birth elsewhere?" To engender faith in them, the Blessed One sent an emanation, which, when they saw it, prompted them to think, "Gentlemen, we have not died and moved on, nor have we been born elsewhere. Rather, the various harms inflicted on us have been interrupted by a being we have never seen before." Through the faith they felt in the emanation, the karma that led them to experience the hell realms was exhausted, and they took rebirth as gods or humans, forms in which they became fit vessels for the truth. Those rays of light that streamed upwards reached the gods of Kataramakkarajika, Trayastrimsa, Yama, Tusita, Niramanarati, Para Nirmatavavartina, Brahmayika, Brahma Purohita, Mahabrahman, Paritaba, Apramanabha, Abhasvara, Paritsuba, Aparamasuba, Subhakrishna, Anablanka, Punya Prasava, Purhatpala, Abirha, Atapa, Sudarsha, Sudarshana, and Akanishta. Resonating with the words impermanence, subject to suffering, empty, and selfless, the rays of light proclaimed these 2 verses. Take action. Go forth. Apply yourself to the Buddha's teachings, as an elephant does a mud hovel. Destroy Yama's minions. He who with great care trains in the Dharma and Vinaya abandons the cycle of rebirth and ends suffering once and for all. The rays of light then unfurled through the worlds of the great billion-fold universe, so that they would in the future be drawn into the Blessed One's sphere. If the Blessed One was about to foretell actions of the past, the rays of light would fade into the space behind the Blessed One. If the Blessed One was about to foretell actions of the future, the rays of light would fade into the space before the Blessed One. If the Blessed One was about to foretell rebirth as a hell being, the rays of light would fade into the soles of his feet. If the Blessed One was about to foretell rebirth as an animal, the rays of light would fade into his ankle. If the Blessed One was about to foretell rebirth as a spirit, the rays of light would fade into his big toe. If the Blessed One was about to foretell rebirth as a human, the rays of light would fade into his knee. If the Blessed One was about to foretell a reign as a powerful king of the world, the rays of light would fade into the palm of his left hand. If the Blessed One was about to foretell a reign as a king of the world, the rays of light would fade into the palm of his right hand. If the Blessed One was about to foretell rebirth as a god, the rays of light would fade into his navel. If the Blessed One was about to foretell a Shravaka's awakening, the rays of light would fade into his mouth. If the Blessed One was about to foretell a Pratyeka Buddha's awakening, the rays of light would fade into the tuft of hair at his brow. If the Blessed One was about to foretell unsurpassed, complete, and perfect awakening, the rays of light would fade into the Ushnisha at his crown. The rays of light then circled the Blessed One 3 times and faded into the soles of his feet. The Venerable Ananda then pressed his palms together and said to the Blessed One, Reverend, not without cause or condition, do Tathagatas, Arhats, perfectly awakened Buddhas smile. If so, Reverend, what then has caused you to smile? What condition has occasioned it? And then he asked again in verse. A mass made brilliant by 1,000 colors emerged from your mouth, illuminating every direction, so why bother with a parasol? Not brazen, nor dejected, nor self-satisfied, you have become a Buddha, the best of beings, a victorious tamer of enemies, not without cause. Do you flash a smile white like a conch or lotus root? Your mind thus knows when the time is right to proclaim. Leader among sages, sovereign among ascetics. For your disciples who doubt, dispel their uncertainty with words reliable, sublime, and virtuous, steady as a mountain or the salty sea. Lord Buddhas do not smile accidentally. Steady as you are, this group is eager to hear the reason for your smile. The Blessed One replied, Ananda, it is like this. Not without cause or condition do Tathagatas, Arhats, perfectly awakened Buddhas smile. Ananda, a great many sinister men here have violated a great many nuns by bodily forcing themselves upon them. For this, when they die, they will pass from this life to be reborn among the denizens of hell." A monk then went to where the Blessed One was, pressed his palms together, and bowed, appealing to him in these words: "Reverend, I am one of the many sinister men who have bodily and forcibly violated nuns." "Fool, have you really committed this act?" "Reverend, indeed I have." The Blessed One then decreed to the monks, "Monks, a person who has violated a nun will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. Therefore, monks, you must banish from this Dharma and the Vinaya those persons who have violated a nun. If someone wishing to go forth approaches any of you, you should ask, 'You have not violated a nun, have you?' If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs." Impostors. The Blessed One was staying in Shravasti in the Jetavana at Natapindana's park when a householder of Shravasti came to Jetavana. When monks are not free from desire, it leads to Sangha remnant offenses. Some incur offenses in their youth and then grow old, and others incur offenses in their maturity. When such an offense occurs, the monks who retain the sutras, retain the Vinaya, and retain the Matrika impose, in accordance with the Dharma, a sentence on the offender. The offender must serve the Sangha while undergoing his full probation and penance. According to some, this service includes providing the Sangha with drinks. According to others, it includes fanning them. At a certain point, the householder from Shravasti saw a spread of fine shelters with choice food laid out for the community and thought, "Though there is some good to their teaching, there are flaws too. They lack honor and respect for those elders they put to work." When the group of 6 heard him say this, they asked, "What did you say, householder?" "Noble ones, though there is some good to your teaching, you too have flaws." "Householder, what are our flaws?" "Noble ones," he replied, "you lack honor and respect for the elders by putting them to work. There is a reason we put even elders to work. Noble ones, if I were to go forth, would you put me to work too?" They replied, "What would you say if someone much more distinguished than you were to go forth and we put even him to work?" The householder thought, "If I were to go forth, they would also put me to work. I must find some way around it." As the householder was possessed of a natural intelligence, while in the monk's company, he learned how to conduct himself. Having learned that, he set off for a remote land, where he shaved off his hair and beard, donned saffron robes, and settled down. After a time, monks who were paid homage to stupas passed by. When the pilgrims saw him, they said, "Elder, in Shravasti there resides one who is verily a lord of Dharma. Around him gods are always appearing in the flesh. Vast lights also appear. Divine sounds are heard, as are the auguries of all-knowing beings, and the 2 forms of wealth, material wealth and the wealth of Dharma, are to be had. Why then do you not go to Shravasti?" "Venerables, I shall remain right here." They implored him again and again. "Elder, in Shravasti there verily resides a lord of Dharma. Around him always are gods appearing in the flesh. Vast lights also appear, divine sounds are heard, as are the auguries of all-knowing beings, and the 2 forms of wealth, material wealth and the wealth of Dharma, are to be had. Why then do you not go to Shravasti?" At the urging of his fellow brahmacharin, He set off for Shravasti. In time he saw the spread of fine shelters with choice food laid out for the community there and thought, if I sit in the front row, I'll be called upon to demonstrate my knowledge. Passing by the first seat, he sat down on the second. When the all-knowing Kondandinya arrived, he thought, if the Blessed One declared that I am first among these who wear the monk's mantle standard, then who is this? On thinking it over, Kondinya saw that he was an impostor and dismissed him with a snap of his fingers. The Venerable Asvajit, Bhadrika, Vashpa, Mahanaman, Yashas, Purna, Vimala, Gavampati, Subahu, the Venerable Shariputra, the Venerable Mahamagyaliana, and all the eldest of elder monks, then also dismissed him with a snap of their fingers. Some time later he approached the group of 6, and they asked him, Elder, how many years have you passed? If you're asking my age, I have seen 60 years, he replied. They asked, if the Blessed One himself is not past 60 years, how could you? And they asked him, Old-timer, who is your preceptor? He replied, who is the ascetic Gautama's preceptor? They exclaimed, Venerables, this old-timer claims he has taken up these signifiers on his own. With this, they grabbed him by his arms and legs, dragged him before the senior monks, and said, Reverend Sangha, please listen. If the Blessed One was the first self-ordained one in this world, this old-timer is the second, or so he claims. And with that, they led him away. The Blessed One then addressed the monks. Monks, this impostor will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. Therefore, you must banish impostors from this Dharma and Vinaya. If someone wishing to go forth approaches any of you, ask him, You are not an impostor, are you? If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs. Venerable Upali asked the Blessed One, Reverend, if the Blessed One says an impostor should be excluded, then Reverend, what constitutes an impostor? Upali, were he to later participate in the restoration 2 or 3 times with monks of good standing, he would thereby be an impostor. Person labeled a Pandaka. The Blessed Buddha was staying in Shravasti in the Jetavana, Anathapindana's park, when a Brahmin living in Shravasti took a wife of equal caste, and together they played with, took pleasure in, and amused one another. The wife with whom he had played, taken pleasure, and amused himself, soon conceived a child. After 8 or 9 months, a Pandaka child was born, who, though resembling a boy, was neither female nor male. Still, they nurtured and raised the child until it grew up. While the child was playing with a group of children, he showed them his sex organs, at which point they asked him, What are you? He replied, I'm a person labeled a Pandaka. You're a Brahmin, they said. It's not right to bring ill repute upon your family, so do not behave like this. They said to his parents, You must stop this person labeled a Pandaka of yours from behaving like this. His parents then said to him, Person labeled a Pandaka, we are Brahmins. It is not right to bring ill repute upon your family. Do not behave so. Though this put a stop to that, the person labeled a Pandaka did not linger. He went to Jetavana and, after some time, he saw a group of young monks and thought, if I were to go forth, they would play the role of a male for me, while I could play the role of a female for them. He then approached a monk and said, Noble one, I want to go forth. Have your parents given you permission? Asked the monk. They have not. Go ask your parents. He went to his parents and said, Father, Mother, I want to go forth. Depressed, the two of them thought, His going forth will require our parting with him. Then they said to him, person labeled a Pandaka, we give you our permission." He went to the monk and said, "Noble one, my parents have given me permission, so please allow my going forth." After his going forth was allowed, and he was granted ordination, he exposed his sex organs in the presence of monks, whereupon they asked him, "What are you? A person labeled a Pandaka?" When he acknowledged that he was, the monks appealed to the Blessed One, and the Blessed One said to the monks, "A person labeled a Pandaka will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. Therefore, you must banish people labeled Pandakas from this Dharma and Vinaya. If someone wishing to go forth approaches any of you, ask him, 'You are not a person labeled a Pandaka, are you?' If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs. Monks, there are 5 kinds of persons labeled Pandakas. What are they? They are intersex persons, rhythmic consecutive persons, sexually submissive persons, persons with a voyeuristic fetish, and persons with a sexual disability. What is an intersex person? One who is born neither a female nor a male. What is a rhythmic consecutive person? Someone who is female for half the month, yet becomes male during the other half. What is a sexually submissive person? One who becomes erect if embraced by another. What is a person with a voyeuristic fetish? One who becomes erect at the sight of others' exertion. What is a person with a sexual disability? A person whose sexual organs have been disabled by disease or removed with some instrument. If the first 4 types of persons labeled Pandakas, intersex persons, rhythmic consecutive person, sexually submissive persons, and persons with a voyeuristic fetish have not gone forth, you should not allow their going forth. If they have gone forth, they should be banished. As for a person with a sexual disability, if they have not gone forth, you should not allow their going forth. If they have gone forth, they should be left as they are, provided they do not show an inclination to change. If they show an inclination to change, they should be banished. Creatures. Sangarakshita and the shape-shifting Naga. The shape-shifting Naga who finds faith in the Dharma. While the Blessed Buddha was staying in Shravasti in the Jetavana, Anathapindana's park, the Nagas thrice felt fiery sand fall from the heavens upon them, reducing their bodies to mere skeletons. After fiery sand thrice fell from the heavens upon a young Naga, reducing his body to that of a mere skeleton, he asked his mother, "Mother, how long must I endure such suffering?" "Son, for as long as you are in this life." Through all of this, fiery sand had not fallen on other Nagas who possessed miraculous powers and great might, prompting him to ask, "Mother, why did it not fall upon them?" His mother replied, "It did not fall upon them because they possess miraculous powers and great might. They live for eons, and they sustain the earth. Even the Garuda, Suparni, could not dislodge them." Through all of this, fiery sand had not fallen on a number of scrawny Nagas either, prompting him to ask, "Mother, why did it not fall upon those of their type?" It did not fall upon them because they took refuge and adopted the precepts in the presence of the Blessed One. If that is so, then I too shall take refuge and adopt the precepts in the presence of the Blessed One. Son, a single life suffering is easy to bear. That of many lifetimes is not. If you take refuge and adopt the precepts in the presence of the Blessed One, but then do not properly heed them, You will have to endure suffering as a denizen in the hell realms for a long time to come." The young Naga thought, "What suffering could be worse than my present suffering? I shall take refuge and adopt the precepts in the presence of the Blessed One." Conjuring up the appearance of a Brahmin, he set off for Jetavana, where he saw monks applying themselves to and abiding in meditation, recitation, yoga, and concentration. Upon seeing them, he felt faith and thought, "Oh my! Should I first take refuge and adopt the precepts, or go forth?" On thinking it over, he decided, "I shall go forth," and with that he approached a monk and said, "Noble one, I want to go forth. As I am new, you should go to someone else, an elder." "Noble one, I do not know anyone else. This is my first time in the presence of a noble being, so I ask you, please introduce me to a monk." As the new monk's preceptor was a hermit living in the forest, the monk took the Naga disguised as a Brahmin to see him and said, "Preceptor, as this noble son wants to go forth, I ask that you allow him to go forth." The preceptor replied, "My dear sir, the Blessed One said, monks only could accept being pressed into work as a butcher, but it is not right to leave the life once you have gone forth and been ordained. This Brahmin would go to the hells, and I too would fall, so I will not ordain him." "Please, preceptor," the monk replied, "all you need to do is allow his going forth, and I shall undertake to train and instruct him." After the preceptor had allowed the Naga's going forth and ordained him, the preceptor said to the monk, "My dear sir, you and he now share a preceptor. As his instructor, you must quiz him, you must instruct him, and you must train him." The monk recited the Ekottara Kagama and then had the Naga repeat it. As he did so with great vigor, it took on the cadence of a prayer. The monk's instructors lit up with joy, and the monk said to the Naga disguised as a Brahmin, "My dear sir, shall we seek alms together, or on our own?" The Naga disguised as a Brahmin thought, "I cannot live on the things humans eat. I had better return to the land of the Nagas, where I can imbibe ambrosia, and return once I have eaten." "Instructor, let us seek them on our own." "Very well, my dear sir," replied the monk. The Naga would drink the ambrosia of the gods in the land of Nagas, and then return. As Nagas require a lot of sleep, he would soon fall into slumber. The monk would return later from his alms, round as the Naga was rising from his nap. One day, the monk received alms right away, took them, and headed home. As he drew near, he heard a sound, like a smith pumping his bellows, coming from his hut. Looking through the keyhole, he saw the entire hut filled with the coiled-up body of a Naga, and cried out, "A shapeshifter! A shapeshifter!" Understanding well what such words meant, the Naga hastily transformed, cloaking his natural appearance and reverting to his conjured look. Monks gathered around and asked him, "What is the matter?" "He's a shapeshifter," the monk replied. They said, "This venerable applies himself diligently, always making an effort in his recitations. Why do you begrudge him?" "I do not begrudge him in the least. It is just that he's a shapeshifter." While they were conferring, the Blessed One passed by and inquired, "What is the matter?" "Blessed One, he's a shapeshifter." The Blessed One replied, "A shapeshifter will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. Therefore, you must banish shapeshifters from this Dharma and Vinaya. If someone willing to go forth approaches any of you, ask him, 'You are not a shapeshifter, are you?' If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs." Monks, a Naga's nature is characterized by 5 things. The rest are emanations. What are these 5? Nagas are born a natural birth. They die a natural death. They sleep a natural sleep. They are nourished naturally, and they procreate naturally. These are the qualities they exhibit. The Blessed One said to the Naga, "My dear sir, with this body of yours you cannot attain any of a host of qualities, so leave and do no harm to the monks." The Naga, not knowing where he might wind up, eventually came upon a forest of sala trees, where he conjured up a monastery with a high gate, skylights, and latticed windows. It was adorned with balustrades, beguiled to the heart and beautiful to the eye, with a staircase to the upper level and perfectly outfitted with beds, seats, and supplies. To arriving monks and departing monks, he provided all the supplies they needed. After passing the rainy season at the monastery, an old-timer left for Shravasti, where, as was their wont, the group of 6 disciples thought, "Here it is we who teach the Dharma to the Brahmins and householders that come and assemble. It is we who trounce our adversaries, as we who spread the fame of our order." As the group of 6 did whatever their self-appointed duties called for, they would never leave the gate into Jetavana unattended. Upananda rose early one morning, cast aside his toothbrush, donned his orange ceremonial robe, and took up his post at the gate into Jetavana. When he saw approaching off in the distance an old-timer, with a head as white as an agati flower and drooping eyebrows, Upananda thought, "No doubt this is one of our elder monks." Going out to greet him, he said, "Welcome, elder, welcome." "Homage to you, instructor," replied the old-timer. Upananda thought, why, I don't recognize this old-timer as one of our instructors, nor do I recognize him as one of our preceptors. Upananda then asked him, "Old-timer, where have you come from?" "From the Shala forest." "Why, is there a monastery there?" "Yes, there is." "What type is it?" "Oh, it is but a poor one." "What is it like?" "How is it poor?" "If it is fully outfitted, it is a monastery, but if it lacks all the trappings, it is poor." "It is a monastery." "What's there?" "A monk caretaker lives there and provides arriving monks and departing monks with all the supplies they need." As was their wont, when one among the group of 6 heard the slightest news, they all gathered in the afternoon to discuss it. So Upananda went to the assembly hall and said to the group of 6, "We venerables must put off our other business for a time. Have you heard some news?" "Indeed I have." "There is a monastery in the Shala forest." "What's there?" "A monk caretaker lives there, and provides arriving monks and departing monks with all the supplies they need. Come, let us pay a visit." The expelled Naga, who was now disguised as an elderly monk caretaker, saw the 6 approaching from off in the distance and thought, "So those rogues have come here. How would they treat me if I were to provide them with all the supplies they need?" With that thought he allocated, in order of seniority, canopied beds and terraced cottages, and provided them with all the supplies they needed. A few days later they had settled in. They said, "Nanda, Upananda, this old-timer has no obvious source of income, nor any obvious record of allocations. We should make him account for what is here." They said to him, "Old-timer, you have no obvious source of income, nor any obvious record of allocations. Come and account for them." "Noble ones," he replied, "are you merely displeased or utterly disappointed?" "We are not just merely displeased, for our fellow brahmacharan would denounce us if it were said, 'The group of 6 passed the rainy season, at that very monastery, and yet they knew nothing of its income and know nothing of its allocations. Elders, I will comply. How long must I keep records? 12 years? Old-timer, in 12 years even the doors of this temple will have collapsed. How about 7 years? That's impracticable. How about 7 months? Still impracticable. How about 7 days? The group declared, Nanda and Upananda, record whatever supplies this old-timer receives over the next 7 days. Old-timer, we order you to comply. The Naga, disguised as the old-timer, thought, I shall make this monastery disappear once the 7-day period is up. To some of our poor fellow brahmacharin, the Naga proceeded to offer mantles, to some upper robes, to some underrobes, to some undershirts, to some begging bowls, and to some small plates. When the group of 6 saw this, they said, Nanda and Upananda, investigate this old-timer, and after 7 days, evict him along with his partisans. After 7 days had passed, the old-timer made the monastery vanish as the group of 6 slept and fled to the seashore. The group of 6 who awoke from their sleep on a piece of dry ground said, Nanda and Upananda, get up and fetch some chalk so we may check the accounts. When they noticed that they had been sleeping on a piece of dry ground, they realized, we have opposed one who trusted in the Blessed One and served the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, causing him to flee and make his monastery disappear. When the monks asked the Blessed One, who was this being? A god? A naga? A yaksha? The Blessed One replied, that monk caretaker was a shapeshifter, and yet this was so. If the group of 6 had not opposed him, he would have served the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for as long as the teachings remained. The Blessed One reflected, all those shortcomings ensue from the monks forcing him to account for the monastery's income and allocations that had no obvious source or recipient. The Blessed One then decreed, a monk should not be forced to account for income and allocations with no obvious source and recipients. A monk should not be forced to account for those items for which the receipt is evident, but its allocation is obscure. A monk should not be forced to account for those items of which the allocation is evident, but its receipt is obscure. A monk should mindfully and attentively monitor those items of which both the receipt and its allocation are evident. After this encounter with the group of 6, the shape-shifting Naga fled to the seashore. When he conjured up a second monastery with a high gate, skylights, and a latticed windows, it too was adorned with balustrades, beguiling to the heart and beautiful to the eye, with a staircase to the upper level and perfectly outfitted with beds, seats, and supplies. Ocean Nagas in the guise of Brahmins and householders gathered there and listened to the shape-shifting Naga teach the Dharma. After hearing the Dharma, they provided arriving monks and departing monks with all the supplies they needed. After passing the rainy season at the monastery, an old-timer left for Shravasti. As was their wont, the group of 6 thought, here, it is we who teach the Dharma to the Brahmins and householders who come and assemble. It is we who trounce our adversaries, and it is we who spread the fame of our order. As the group of 6 did whatever their self-appointed duties called for, they would never leave the gate into Jetavana unattended. One day Upananda rose early in the morning, cast aside his toothbrush, donned his orange mantle, and took up his post at the gate into Jetavana. When he saw approaching off in the distance an old-timer with a head as white as an agati flower and drooping eyebrows, Upananda thought, no doubt this is one of our elder monks. Going out to greet him, he said, "Welcome, elder, welcome. Homage to you, instructor." Upananda thought, "My, I don't recognize this old-timer as one of our instructors, nor do I recognize him as one of our preceptors." Upananda then said to him, "Old-timer, where have you come from?" "I've come from the seashore." "Why, is there a monastery there?" "Yes, there is," he replied. "What type is it?" "Oh, it is but a poor one." "What is the monastery like?" "How is it poor?" "If it is fully outfitted, it is a monastery. But if it lacks all the trappings, it is poor." "It is a monastery. What's there?" "A monk preacher lives there, where he teaches the Dharma to Brahmins and householders. After hearing the Dharma, they provide arriving monks and departing monks with all the supplies they need." As was their wont, when one among the group of 6 heard the slightest news, they all gathered into the afternoon to discuss it. So Upananda went to the assembly hall and said to the group of 6, "We venerables must put off all our business for a time. Have you heard some news?" "Indeed I have," Upananda replied. "There is a monastery on the seashore." "What's there?" "A monk preacher lives there, where he teaches the Dharma to Brahmins and householders. Upon hearing the Dharma from him, they provide arriving monks and departing monks with all the supplies they need. Come, let us pay a visit." The debarred Naga, now disguised as a monk preacher, saw the 6 approaching from off in the distance and thought, "Ah, those rogues have arrived. What would they do if I refused to demurely acquiesce to them?" The ocean Nagas, in the guise of Brahmins and householders, then gathered there, and he taught them the Dharma. After hearing the Dharma, they provided the arriving monks and departing monks with all the supplies they needed, at which point the group of 6 said, "Nanda and Upananda, what does this old-timer know?" The Ekatara Kagama. If these monks here are all well versed in the 3 Pitakas, are teachers of Dharma in their own right, and possessed of intelligence and untrammeled confidence, why does he who teaches the Dharma, using this out-of-date Ekatara Kagama, not request teachings from them? They said to the Naga, disguised as the monk preacher, "What do you know, old-timer?" The Ekatara Kagama. "You teach the Dharma using this out-of-date Ekatara Kagama, which these monks here are all well versed in the 3 Pitakas, are teachers of Dharma in their own right, and possessed of intelligence and untrammeled confidence. Why do you not request teachings from them?" "What, noble ones, do I stop them? Why do you not teach the Dharma?" "Nanda and Upananda, this old-timer is at odds with us. We will act to evict him." Thinking, if they move to evict me, I won't find a place among the Nagas either. Then while the group of 6 were sleeping, the Naga made the monastery vanish and slipped into the ocean. On waking on the sandy beach, the group of 6 said, "Nanda and Upananda, get up and erect a lion throne from which we shall teach the Dharma." When they noticed they had slept on a sandy beach, they said, "We opposed one who trusted in the Blessed One and served the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, causing him to flee and make his monastery disappear." When the monks asked the Blessed One, who was this being, a god, a Naga, a Yaksha, the Blessed One replied, "That monk preacher was a shapeshifter, and yet this was so. If the group of 6 monks had not opposed him, he would have served the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha for as long as the teachings remained." The Blessed One thought, all those shortcomings ensue from the monk's teaching without being requested to do so. With that, he said, a monk should not teach without first having been asked to do so. If a monk teaches without first having been asked to do so, a breach occurs. If he is invited to do so, then no offense ensues. Sangharakshita brings the Buddha's teaching to the lands of the Nagas. Buddha Rakshita, a wealthy householder with much riches and goods, who lived in Shravasti, took a wife of equal caste, and together they played with, took pleasure in, and amused one another. Looking to guide them, the Venerable Shariputra went to their house and enjoined the householder and his wife to seek refuge and pledge to uphold the precepts. Some time afterwards, the householder's wife conceived a child. Knowing this being was certain to become one of the fortunate, the Venerable Shariputra visited the family without any ascetic followers in his wake. Prostrating at his feet, the householder asked, "Does the noble one have no ascetic followers?" "Householder," he replied, "do you think my ascetic followers simply sprout up like weeds? It's those who issue from people like you who become my ascetic followers. Noble one, my spouse has conceived a child. If she should give birth to a boy, I will offer him as an ascetic follower to the noble one. Householder, I accept it." After 8 or 9 months had passed, a boy was born, well proportioned, pleasing to the eye, handsome, radiant, with a golden complexion, a head shaped well like a parasol, long arms, a broad forehead, eyebrows that met, and a prominent nose. 3 weeks or 21 days after the birth, relatives came and gathered to celebrate his birth in grand style, during which time they discussed what name should be chosen for the boy. Some said, "Since the boy is Buddha Rakshita's son, the boy should be named Sangha Rakshita," and thus he was named Sangha Rakshita. Fortified with milk, curd, butter, ghee, cream, and other nourishing foods, the boy Sangha Rakshita grew quickly, shooting up like a lotus in a pond. On the very day Sangharakshita was born, that same day sons were also born to 500 merchants, each of whom was given a name appropriate to his patrilineage. In time, the boy Sangharakshita grew up, and the Venerable Shariputra knew it was time to allow his going forth. So, looking to guide them, he went alone without any ascetic followers in his wake to the boy's house. After prostrating at Shariputra's feet, the householder Buddha Rakshita laid out a seat and invited the Venerable Shariputra to sit. As he sat, Shariputra signaled to prompt the householder Buddha Rakshita. The householder Buddha Rakshita then said to Sangha Rakshita, "Son, when you were in your mother's womb, before you were even born, I offered you as an ascetic follower to the noble Shariputra. Go and serve him." As this was to be Sangharakshita's last life as a sentient being, a smile had already spread across his face, and without apprehension, neither crestfallen nor gloomy, he pledged to do as he was told. With that, he became the Venerable Shariputra's attendant, apprentice, and follower. After the Venerable Shariputra had allowed his going forth and given him ordination, he taught Sangharakshita how Dharma practitioners conduct themselves, and made him recite the 4 agamas. Some time later, after assembling merchandise to bring on their journey across the ocean, the 500 sons of the 500 merchants conferred and decided to bring, along with their goods, a noble monk across the ocean. Gentlemen, the ocean is full of many terrors. So those of us that journey across the ocean would do well to ask for the company of a noble one who might teach us the Dharma. Beginning their search, they asked, "Who shall we ask to come?" Some answered, "Gentlemen, we should ask our peer, the noble Sangharakshita, for we grew up together playing in the dirt with him." They went to him, prostrated at his feet, and said, "Noble Sangharakshita, we grew up together playing in the dirt with you, our peer. So if we set out upon the ocean, an ocean full of many terrors, we should do well were the noble one to teach Dharma to those of us crossing the ocean. Therefore, noble one, we ask that you come with us across the ocean." "Gentlemen," he replied, "as I am not at liberty to do as I please, you should put your request to my preceptor." They went to the venerable Shariputra, bowed their heads at his feet, and said, "Noble Shariputra, please give us your attention. We grew up together playing in the dirt with our peer, the noble Sangharakshita. So if we set out upon the ocean, an ocean full of many terrors, we would do well were the noble one to teach Dharma to those of us crossing the ocean. For that reason, we ask that you send the noble Santarakshita with us across the ocean. Ask the Blessed One himself, and I will not object." They went to the Blessed One, bowed their heads at his feet, and said, "Blessed One, please give us your attention. We grew up together playing in the dirt with our peer, the noble Sangharakshita. So if we set out upon the ocean, an ocean full of many terrors, we would do well were the noble one to teach the Dharma to those of us crossing the ocean. For that reason, we ask that you send the noble Sangharakshita with us across the ocean." The Blessed One considered whether or not these merchants had any meager roots of virtue, and saw that they did. Considering who their awakening hinged on, he saw that it hinged on the monk Sangharakshita. The Blessed One then said to the Venerable Sangharakshita, "Sangharakshita, you shall go on this journey across the ocean, and face your fears along with what provokes them." With his silence, the Venerable Sangharakshita assented to the Blessed One. After performing rites of protection, good luck, and success, the 500 merchants, together with the Venerable Sangharakshita, carried their goods to the ocean in carts, on poles, in baskets and hampers, and on camels, bullocks, and donkeys. Setting out for the ocean, they passed in stages through villages, towns, countryside, kingdoms, and markets, until they reached the ocean shore, where they paused to recover from the weariness of the road. For 500 denarii, they obtained a ship and hired 500 crew members to serve as stewards, cleaning staff, divers, deckhands, and riggers. After calling out 3 times, they set out upon the ocean in pursuit of riches. Part of the way into their voyage, they and their seafaring ship were held up by Nagas. The merchants began to implore Shiva, Varuna, Kubera, Shakra, Brahma, and other gods. Whoever it is that dwells here, be they gods, Nagas, Yakshas, or Gandharvas, may they tell us what they desire. From the ocean there came a voice, saying, "Give us the noble Sangharakshita." The noble Sangharakshita is our peer. We grew up together, playing in the dirt with him. The Blessed One and the Venerable Shariputra have entrusted him to us. So we would sooner die and face our death with him than turn him over. The Venerable Sangharakshita said to them, "What are you talking about, gentlemen?" "Noble one," they replied, "a voice from the ocean has said, 'Give us the noble Sangharakshita.' Why do you not give me over?" "Noble one, you are our peer. We grew up together, playing in the dirt with you. The Blessed One and the Venerable Shariputra have entrusted you to us, so we would sooner die and face our death with you than turn you over." The Venerable Sangharakshita thought, "This must be what the Blessed One meant when he said to me, 'Sangharakshita, you shall go on this journey across the ocean and face your fears along with what provokes them.'" Taking up his begging bowl and robe, he prepared to jump into the sea. Seeing him prepare to jump, the merchant shouted, "Noble Sangharakshita, what are you doing? What are you doing?" As they tried to stop him, Sangharakshita jumped into the sea, and at the very moment he did so, the Nagas released the ship. Taking the Venerable Sangharakshita, the Nagas returned to the land of the Nagas. Smiling at one another, the Nagas and their Naga women watched in amazement as they invited the Venerable Sangharakshita to pay homage to a set of shrines, saying, "Noble Sangharakshita, this shall be the sanctuary of the perfectly awakened Buddha, Vipassana, while these shall be the sanctuaries of the perfectly awakened Buddhas, Sikhin, Vishvabhu, Krakuchanda, Kanakamuni, and Kashyapa. This shall be the sanctuary of the Blessed One, Shakyamuni." After prostrating to the shrines with them, Sangharakshita sat on the seat they had arranged at the center of the assembled Nagas. The Nagas joined their palms and supplicated him, "Noble Sangharakshita, though the Blessed One's sutras and matrika have taken root among gods and humans, we Nagas were born into this cursed state with fallen forms. O Noble One, please see that the ultimate sutras take root among us." Sangharakshita assented with the words, "I shall do just that." The shapeshifter who had fled his seaside monastery for the land of the Nagas after being confronted by the group of 6 then chose 3 Naga youths and said to the first, "You shall memorize the Samyuktagama." To the second he said, "You shall memorize the Madhyamagama." To the third he said, "You shall memorize the Durga Gama." The Nagas can learn how to recite the Ekotarikagama by listening to me recite it. When the young Nagas began to recite, the first closed his eyes as he sought to memorize the Samyuktagama. The second turned his back as he sought to memorize the Madhyamagama, while the third sat off in the distance as he sought to memorize the Durga Gama. Because the shapeshifter had greater exposure to Buddhist customs than the others, he was respectful, deferential, and came first to all of their chores. He would rise early and say, "Noble ones, get up and brush your teeth. Pay homage to the gathering of blessed ones and their shrines. Eat and make the bed." Once they were all reciting their respective agamas, the shapeshifter said, "Noble one, if Naga youths recite the agamas, will they remember them or not?" Sangharakshita replied, "Even if, with their good memories, they remember them, they still have certain flaws." "Noble one," the shapeshifter asked, "what are their failings?" "They lack respect and deference. The first closes his eyes as he seeks to memorize the Samyuktagama. The second turns his back as he seeks to memorize the Madhyamagama, while the third sits off in the distance as he seeks to memorize the Durga Gama. You alone are respectful and deferential, and come first to all of your chores." "Noble one," the shapeshifter replied, "it is not that they lack respect and deference. The one who closes his eyes as he seeks to memorize the Samyuktagama has noxious eyes that burn. The one who turns his back as he seeks to memorize the Madhyamagama has noxious breath. And the one who sits off in the distance as he seeks to memorize the Durga Gama has a noxious touch. I myself have noxious fangs." Frightened, the venerable Sangharakshita thought, "Look, I am living among my mortal enemies." As he grew pallid, emaciated, feeble, withered, thin, and weak, the shape-shifting Naga asked, "Noble one, why have you become pallid, emaciated, feeble, withered, thin, and weak?" "I am among enemies, so the moment I do anything to upset you, I shall be reduced to naught but a memory." "We do not intend to harm the noble one. However, given the situation, does the noble one wish to return to Jambudvipa?" "My dear sir, I do. I do not care for this place." The Nagas discussed the matter among themselves, and when the noble Sangharakshita's ship passed by on its return journey, they raised him from the waters and placed him on board the ship. Smiles broke out from the merchants' faces as they stared in amazement and cried out, "Welcome back, noble Sangharakshita! Welcome back!" Sangharakshita said, "Gentlemen, rejoice, for I have seen to it that the 4 agamas have taken root in the land of Nagas." "Noble one, we do. We rejoice in this good you have done for others, for this is the job of those who go forth." Reunited and happy, the merchants and the venerable Sangharakshita completed the journey back to shore. On arriving, all were tired and weary. As his companions slept, the venerable Sangharakshita turned his gaze to the ocean. The Blessed One had said, "Monks, There are 5 things one never tires of looking at, and which are in no way displeasing to the eye. What are the 5? One never tires of looking at a clever and youthful elephant, a king of the world, the ocean with its monsters, Sumeru, the king of mountains, and a Tathagata, an Arhat, a perfectly awakened Buddha. These 5 things are in no way displeasing to the eye. Sangharakshita gazed long at the ocean until just before dawn. When fatigued, he was overcome by a deep sleep. Not long after, the merchants loaded the pack animals and set out. But because it was in the wee hours of the morning, they could not see the venerable Sangharakshita, and they began to look and ask one another, "Gentlemen, what has happened to the noble Sangharakshita?" Some suggested he had gone ahead, while others said he was still coming from behind. And still others said he was traveling in the middle of the caravan. After searching everywhere to no avail, they gave up. Dispirited and downcast, they said, "Gentlemen, it is not good that we have left the noble Sangharakshita behind. We must turn around." But then, on reflection, it occurred to them, the noble Sangharakshita possesses miraculous powers and great might. If he did not meet his end in the ocean, how could he meet his end while traveling on dry land? With his miraculous powers and great might, he must have gone far ahead of us and be waiting there now. With the call, "Gentlemen, come, let us go," they set out. Sangharakshita sees the effects of actions with his own eyes. When the sun rose, its rays struck the venerable Sangharakshita as he lay asleep on the empty, sandy beach, waking him from his slumber. Seeing no one around, he thought, "What will I do if the merchants have left? They might have gone in any direction." With great courage, the venerable Sangharakshita set out, but he could see no trail. After searching about, he spied a narrow path and set off upon it. After a time, he saw in a forest of chala trees a monastery with a high gate, skylights, and lattice windows. It was adorned with balustrades, beguiling to the heart and beautiful to the eye, with a staircase to the upper level and perfectly outfitted with beds, seats, and supplies. It was surrounded by a variety of trees and graced with pools and ponds, ringing with the sounds of swans, cranes, peacocks, parrots, minas, and cuckoos. When he saw the monks finely dressed and well trained, living peacefully in this glorious and heavenly abode, he respectfully approached them. With a show of respect, they said to him, "Welcome, Reverend Sangharakshita, welcome. From where have you come just now?" After he explained everything that had happened, they let him rest, and once he recovered from the fatigue of the road, they led him into the monastery. Once there, he saw that fine seats had been arranged and choice foods laid out. They asked him, "Reverend Sangharakshita, are you not thirsty? Are you not hungry?" "Venerables," he said, "I am thirsty and I am hungry." "Then partake, Reverend Sangharakshita. I will eat with the Sangha." "Reverend Sangharakshita, you are tired from your travels, so eat now. Later the food will have spoiled." Seeing the drawback in waiting, Sangharakshita ate, and then took a seat off to one side. Some time later, the meal was laid out, and when the Gandhi beam was struck, the monks filed in, each carrying his own begging bowl, and sat down in order of seniority. As soon as they sat down, the monastery vanished, and each of their begging bowls turned into iron clubs of different sorts. For the remainder of the meal, they bludgeoned each other over the head with their iron clubs, cracking their skulls open and inflicting unbearable pain that caused them to cry out pitifully. As soon as the mealtime ended, the monastery reappeared, as before, while the monks also resumed their peaceful demeanors. The venerable Sangharakshita approached them and asked, "Who are you, venerables? What karma has led you to this?" "Reverend Sangharakshita," they replied, "the people of Jambudvipa are skeptical, so you will not believe us." "Why would I not believe what I have seen with my own eyes?" "Reverend Sangharakshita, we were disciples of the perfectly awakened Buddha Kashyapa. While in the meal queue, we fought, and as the fruition of that karma, have been born as denizens of an ephemeral hell. As soon as we die and pass from this life, we will be reborn among the denizens of hell, and will have to live there in such straits. Reverend Sangharakshita, once you have returned to Jambudvipa, say to your fellow brahmacharin, 'Venerables, do not fight in the food queue like Kashyapa's monks. Do not act so as to accrue the fortune for that mass of suffering. It would be good if you were to explain our plight at length.'" After agreeing to do just that, Sangharakshita departed. After some time he saw again, as before, in a forest of shala trees, a second monastery, with a high gate, skylights, and latticed windows. It was adorned with balustrades, beguiling to the heart and beautiful to the eye, with a staircase to the upper level and perfectly outfitted with beds, seats, and supplies. It was surrounded by a variety of trees, and graced with pools and ponds, ringing with the sounds of swans, cranes, peacocks, parrots, minnas, and cuckoos. When he saw the monks, finely dressed and well-trained, living peacefully in this glorious and heavenly abode, he respectfully approached them. With a show of respect, they said to him, "Welcome, Reverend Sangharakshita, welcome. From where have you come just now?" After he explained everything that had happened, they let him rest, and once he recovered from the fatigue of the road, they led him into the monastery. Once there, he saw that fine seats had been arranged and choice foods laid out. They asked him, "Reverend Sangharakshita, are you not thirsty? Are you not hungry?" "Venerables, I am thirsty and I am hungry." "Then partake, Reverend Sangharakshita. I will eat with the Sangha." "Reverend Sangharakshita, you are fatigued from your travels, so eat now. Later the food will have spoiled." Seeing the drawback in waiting, he ate, and then took a seat off to one side. Some time later, the meal was laid out, and when the Gandhi beam was struck, the monks filed in, each carrying his own begging bowl, and sat down in order of seniority. As soon as they sat down, the monastery vanished, and the food and drink turned into molten iron. For the remainder of the meal, They doused one another in molten iron, scalding their bodies and inflicting unbearable pain that caused them to cry out pitifully. As soon as the mealtime ended, the monastery reappeared as before, while the monks also resumed their peaceful demeanors. The venerable Sangharakshita approached them and asked, "Who are you, venerables? What karma has led you to this?" "Reverend Sangharakshita," they replied, "the people of Jambudvipa are skeptical, so you will not believe us." "Why would I not believe what I have seen with my own eyes?" "Reverend Sangharakshita, we were disciples of the perfectly awakened Buddha Kashyapa. Once the Sangha had received a supply of rich food, and when a group of arriving monks turned up, those of us overcome by greed thought and even said, we should not serve the food until the arriving monks have left. For 7 days an unseasonable rain fell, spoiling the food and drink, leaving it unsuitable for consumption. Thus we wasted what had been given in faith, and as the fruition of that karma, have been born as denizens of an ephemeral hell. As soon as we die and pass from this life, we will be reborn among the denizens of a great hell, and will have to live there in such straits. Reverend Sangharakshita, once you have returned to Jambudvipa, say to your fellow brahmacharin, venerables, do not waste what has been given in faith. Like Kashyapa's monks, do not act so as to accrue the fortune of that mass of suffering. It would be well were you to explain our plight at length. After agreeing to do just that, Sangharakshita departed. After some time he saw again, as before, in a forest of shala trees, a third monastery with a high gate, skylights, and lattice windows. It was adorned with balustrades, beguiling to the heart and beautiful to the eye, with a staircase to the upper level and perfectly outfitted with beds, seats, and supplies. It was surrounded by a variety of trees and graced with pools and ponds, ringing with the sounds of swans, cranes, peacocks, parrots, minnas, and cuckoos. When he saw the monks finely dressed and well trained, living peacefully in this glorious and heavenly abode, he respectfully approached them. With a show of respect they said to him, "Welcome, Reverend Sangharakshita, welcome. From where have you just now come?" After he explained everything that had happened, they let him rest, and once he recovered from the fatigue of the road, they led him into the monastery. Once there, he saw that fine seats had been arranged and choice foods laid out. They asked him, "Reverend Sangharakshita, are you not thirsty? Are you not hungry?" "Venerables, I am thirsty, and I am hungry." "Then partake, Reverend Sangharakshita. I will eat with the Sangha." "Reverend Sangharakshita, you are fatigued from your travels, so eat now. Later the food will have spoiled." Seeing the drawback in waiting, he ate, and then took a seat off to one side. Some time later, the meal was laid out, and when the Gandhi beam was struck, the monks filed in, each carrying his own begging bowl, and sat down in order of seniority. As soon as they sat down, the monastery caught alight, burst into flames, and was engulfed in a fire that began to burn as a single giant inferno. For the remainder of the meal, the fire raged, burning their bodies and inflicting unbearable pain, that caused them to cry out pitifully. As soon as the mealtime ended, the monastery reappeared as before, while the monks also resumed their peaceful demeanors. The venerable Sangharakshita approached them and asked, "Who are you, venerables? What karma has led you to this?" "Reverend Sangharakshita," they replied, "the people of Jambudvipa are skeptical, so you will not believe us." "Why would I not believe what I have seen with my own eyes?" "Reverend Sangharakshita, we were disciples of the perfectly awakened Buddha, Kashyapa. In time our ethics became lax, and we became dissolute. When the ethical monks evicted us from the monastery, we took up in an empty monastery. After a while, an ethical monk happened by, which gave us an idea. We thought, he alone can purify patronage. We must get him to stay. And so he stayed. And in time, as a result of that, many ethical monks gathered there, who then proceeded to evict us. Those of us who could not bear this piled wood, straw, and dried dung, and set fire to the monastery, burning many of the monks intent on training there. As the fruition of that karma, we have been born as denizens of an ephemeral hell. And as soon as we die and pass from this life, we will be reborn among the denizens of hell, and will have to live there in such straits. Reverend Sangharakshita, once you have returned to Jambudvipa, say to your fellow brahmacharin, venerables, do not nurse hatred for your fellow brahmacharin, as Kashyapa's monks did. Do not act so as to accrue the fortune for that mass of suffering. It would be well were you to explain our plight at length." After agreeing to do just that, Sangharakshita departed. On his journey, the venerable Sangharakshita saw beings shaped like walls, pillars, trees, leaves, flowers, fruit, rope, brooms, bowls, mortars and pestles, pots, and even beings cut at the waist, their bodies held together by tendons. Sangharakshita's sermon leads 500 seers to the truth. Eventually, the venerable Sangharakshita reached a settlement with an ashram where there lived 500 seers. The seers saw the venerable Sangharakshita approaching from off in the distance and began to confer with one another. "Listen, gentlemen, these ascetic sons of the Shakya tend to preach a great deal. Let none of us offer a single word in response." Having made this pact, they remained where they were. With a peaceful demeanor, Sangharakshita approached them, but when he requested a place to stay, they gave not a word in response. A single seer, intent on merit, said, "Why do we not give you a place to stay? It is because you have a fault. You tend to preach a lot. You must therefore swear an oath. I will give you a place if you remain from giving even the slightest sermon." "Seer, as you instruct, I shall not preach," replied Sangharakshita. The seer took Sangharakshita to an unoccupied thatched hut in the settlement and told him he could sleep there. Sangharakshita sprinkled water on, swept, and applied fresh cow dung to the dirt floor of the thatched hut. On seeing this, the seer said, "Gentlemen, these ascetic sons of the Shakya are sanitary." Sangharakshita washed his feet outside the thatched hut before going back inside. Sitting down, he crossed his legs, held his body erect, and rested in mindfulness. A goddess living in the ashram went to the venerable Sangharakshita during the evening watch and said, Noble Sangharakshita, please teach the Dharma. Goddess, I wish you well, but did you not see I received this resting place by making a pact? Would you like me to be kicked out? The goddess thought, this renunciate is tired, so I shall return during the night watch. She returned during the night watch and said, Noble Sangharakshita, please teach the Dharma. Sister, you just can't leave it be. You must want me to be kicked out. She thought, this renunciant is still groggy from sleep. I shall return during the final watch. She returned during the final watch and said, Noble Sangharakshita, why do you sleep? I woke you in the middle of the night and asked you to teach the Dharma. Sister, you are trying by every means to get me kicked out. Noble one, the darkness of night has passed. Even if you were kicked out, why would it matter? You'd be seeking to leave soon anyway. Did the Blessed One not say you must face your fears along with what provokes them? Sister, what you say is true. I must get going regardless of whether I am kicked out. Since these people are Brahmins, I should recite a verse the Brahmins themselves take to be true. Sangharakshita then began to recite the Brahmana Varga. So long as doubt remains, go naked, with matted hair, smeared in mud, a motley diet, sleeping rough, unwashed and smelly, and the practice of squatting do not make men pure. But he who forsakes violence toward all who live, acts with virtue, is pacific, subdued and restrained, and aspires to purity even if he be bedecked in jewelry. That is a Brahmin, an ascetic, a monk. On hearing this verse, the seers thought, this monk's verse expressed the real meaning of Brahmin. One seer drew near, then a second and a third, until they all surrounded him, at which point the goddess charmed them so they could not see one another. After that, Sangharakshita began to recite the Nagarapama Sutra. Thus did I hear at one time. The Blessed One was staying in Shravasti, in the Jetavana, Anathapindana's park. The Blessed One said to the monks, Monks, before I achieved perfect awakening and became a perfect Buddha, I went alone into the wild. While inwardly absorbed, this perfect thought arose in my mind. Ah, this world is prone to suffering, for we are born, we age, we die, we deteriorate, and then it all happens again. And though a higher state exists, beings who age and die know nothing of the perfect remedies that exist. I then pondered what was needed for birth to occur and what conditions to contribute to the occurrence of birth. On proper reflection, I realized this perfectly and as it is. If there is becoming, there will be birth, and becoming contributes to the occurrence of birth. I then pondered what was needed for becoming to occur and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of becoming. On proper reflection, I realized this perfectly and as it is. If there is grasping, there will be becoming, and grasping contributes to the occurrence of becoming. I then pondered what was needed for grasping to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of grasping. On proper reflection, I realized this perfectly as it is. If there is craving, there will be grasping, and craving contributes to the occurrence of grasping. I then pondered what was needed for craving to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of craving. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is sensation, there will be craving, and sensation contributes to the occurrence of craving. I then pondered what was needed for sensation to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of sensation. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is contact, there will be sensation, and contact contributes to the occurrence of sensation. I then pondered what was needed for contact to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of contact. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there are seats for the six senses, there will be contact, and seats for the six senses contribute to the occurrence of contact. I then pondered what was needed for the seats of the six senses to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of the seats of the six senses. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there are name and form, there will be seats for the six senses, and name and form contribute to the occurrence of seats for the six senses. I then pondered what was needed for name and form to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of name and form. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is consciousness, there will be name and form, and consciousness contributes to the occurrence of name and form. I then pondered what was needed for consciousness to occur, and what conditions contribute to the occurrence of consciousness. By reversing the conception of I, one will not incite what follows from that. Thus, consciousness contributes to name and form. Name and form contribute to the seats of the six senses. The seats of the six senses contribute to contact. Contact contributes to sensation. Sensation contributes to craving. Craving contributes to grasping. Grasping contributes to becoming. Becoming contributes to birth. Birth contributes to aging and death and the occurrence of sorrow, lamentation, suffering, unhappiness, and strife. And that is how I thought this whole huge mass of suffering comes to be. I then pondered what must be absent for aging and death not to occur, and what must cease for aging and death to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no birth, no aging and death will occur, and the cessation of birth arrests aging and death. I then pondered what must be absent for birth not to occur, and what must cease for birth to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no becoming, no birth will occur, and the cessation of becoming arrests birth. I then pondered what must be absent for becoming not to occur, and what must cease for becoming to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no grasping, no becoming will occur, and the cessation of grasping arrests becoming. I then pondered what must be absent for grasping not to occur, and what must cease for grasping to cease. On proper reflection, I realized this perfectly and as it is. If there is no craving, no grasping will occur, and the cessation of craving arrests grasping. I then pondered what must be absent for craving not to occur, and what must cease for craving to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no sensation, no craving will occur, and the cessation of sensation arrests craving. I then pondered what must be absent for sensation not to occur, and what must cease for sensation to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no contact, no sensation will occur, and the cessation of contact arrests sensation. I then pondered what must be absent for contact not to occur, and what must cease for contact to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there are no seats for the six senses, no contact will occur, and the cessation of the seats for the six senses arrests contact. I then pondered what must be absent for the seats of the six senses not to occur, and what must cease for the seats of the six senses to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there are no name and form, no seats of the six senses will occur, and the cessation of name and form arrests the seats of the six senses. I then pondered what must be absent for name and form not to occur, and what must cease for name and form to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no consciousness, no name and form will occur, and the cessation of consciousness arrests name and form. I then pondered what must be absent for consciousness not to occur, and what must cease for consciousness to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no conditioning, no consciousness will occur, and the cessation of conditioning arrests consciousness. I then pondered what must be absent for conditioning not to occur, and what must cease for conditioning to cease. On proper reflection, I realize this perfectly and as it is. If there is no ignorance, no conditioning will occur, and the cessation of ignorance arrests conditioning. Thus, the cessation of ignorance arrests conditioning. The cessation of conditioning arrests consciousness. The cessation of consciousness arrests name and form. The cessation of name and form arrests the seats of six senses. The cessation of the seats of the six senses arrests contact. The cessation of contact arrests sensation. The cessation of sensation arrests craving. The cessation of craving arrests grasping. The cessation of grasping arrests becoming. The cessation of becoming arrests birth. The cessation of birth arrests aging and death. And sorrow, lamentation, suffering, unhappiness, and strife. And that is how, I thought, this whole huge mass of suffering comes to cease. Monks, I thought of this as an old path I had found, an old route, an old trail, which seers of old have traveled and traversed. It is analogous to this. Say that a person wanders, passing through a great forest, and discovers an old path, an old route, an old trail, which people of old have traveled and traversed, and he follows it until he sees an old city and a king's delightful old palace, with its resplendent gardens, resplendent parks, resplendent pools, and fine hedges. On seeing it, he thinks, I shall go and speak to the king. He goes to the king and says, Your Majesty, please grant me your attention. I was wandering, passing through a great forest, when I discovered an old path, an old route, an old trail, which people of old have traveled and traversed, and I followed it until I saw an old city, and the king's delightful old palace, with its resplendent gardens, resplendent parks, resplendent pools, and fine hedges. Your Majesty, allow me to restore the city. Allow me to restore the king's palace. In time the king's palace prospers and thrives. Crops are bountiful, and the land teems with animals and people. Just so, monks. I too have found an old path, an old route, an old trail, which seers of old have traveled and traversed. Monks, what is this old path, this old route, this old trail, which seers of old have traveled and traversed? It is this, the Noble One's Eightfold Path, which consists of right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right recollection, and right concentration. Monks, this is the old path, the old route, the old trail, which seers of old have traveled and traversed. I reached it, and on reaching it, I saw aging and death, and I saw the origins of aging and death, the cessation of aging and death, and the path that leads to the cessation of aging and death. I saw birth, becoming, grasping, craving, sensation, contact, the seats of the six senses, name and form, consciousness and conditioning, and I saw the origins of conditioning, the cessation of conditioning, and the path that leads to the cessation of conditioning. And so, having been perfectly awakened by my perception, I proclaim it to an array of monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen, tirthikas, ascetics, Brahmins, sadhus, and wandering mendicants. And when a monk perfectly accomplishes it, he too becomes an accomplished adept, sagacious, righteous, and an agent of virtue. And when a nun, a layman, or a laywoman perfectly accomplishes it, they too become accomplished adepts, sagacious, righteous, and agents of virtue. Thus it is that such a one who lives purely is magnanimous, of benefit to a great many beings, prodigious, and teaches widely and perfectly among gods and humans. Sangharakshita closed his sermon with this dedication: May all who live here gathered on the earth or in the sky be always kind to creatures and practice Dharma night and day. All present realize the truths, and in that moment achieve the fruit of a non-returner, and with it miraculous abilities. In one voice they cried out, "Well said, Reverend Sangharakshita, well said." The goddess then released them from the miraculous spell they were under, so they came to see one another again. As they caught sight of one another, they exclaimed, "Oh, you too were here." "You were here?" "I was here." "Good." The seers had discovered a mighty state, and having discovered it, proclaimed, "Reverend Sangharakshita, if it is permitted, we would receive the going forth, ordination, and monkhood in the well-proclaimed Dharma and Vinaya. We would live the holy life in the Blessed One's presence." Smiling, Sangharakshita said, "Venerables, your great and dauntless self-confidence is noble. It is excellence. It is excellent. What is more, the Blessed One said, 5 advantages rightly come only to the wise with perfect vision who aspire to go forth. What are those 5? 1. It is only the wise with perfect vision who aspire to going forth, about whom it may rightly be said, he will pursue his aim without diversion. 2. It is only the wise with perfect vision who aspire to going forth, about whom it may rightly be said, I make offerings to and praise those who are slave, agent, or emissary to no one, those who are independent and not in anyone's service. 3. It is only the wise with perfect vision who aspire to going forth, about whom it may rightly be said, he will attain the unsurpassed accomplishment and bliss of nirvana. 4. It is only the wise with perfect vision who aspire to going forth, about whom it may rightly be said, even should he fail to attain the unsurpassed accomplishment and bliss of nirvana, he will be reborn among gods, 5. It is only the wise with perfect vision who aspire to going forth, about whom it may rightly be said, Buddhas, the saintly disciples of Buddhas who have reached perfection and entered perfection, and saintly beings praise renunciants in many ways. Sangharakshita continued, So you shall go forth, but will you go forth before the Blessed One or before me? Before the Blessed One, the seers replied. In that case, come, let us go to the Blessed One. Reverend Sangharakshita, shall we travel under our own miraculous powers or under your miraculous powers? Hearing this pained the venerable Sangharakshita, who thought, If they have attained such a store of qualities due to my influence, it looks as if I am but a raft to them. Dispirited, he replied, Venerables, I have a small task to perform, so please wait here for a bit. And with that he sat down at the base of a tree, his legs crossed, his body erect, and rested in mindfulness. The Blessed One said, There are 5 benefits to being well versed in the teachings. What are they? One becomes knowledgeable about the aggregates, knowledgeable about the constituents, knowledgeable about the seats of the senses, knowledgeable about interdependent arising, and one need not rely on others for instructions or further teachings on them. Thus, by applying himself diligently, Sangharakshita came to understand samsara's ever-revolving 5 cycles, it being by nature subject to degradation, decline, dispersal, and destruction. All of Sangharakshita's conditioning was overwhelmed, and he abandoned all disturbing emotions. He perceived that he had in that very life actualized the unsurpassed aim of the holy life, for which the sons of noble families, with perfect faith, cut their hair, shave their beards, don the saffron robes, and go forth from home into homelessness. With his achievement he understood, My births have come to an end. I have lived the holy life. I have done what needed doing. I will know no lives after this one. Thus he became an arhat, free of desire for the 3 realms, for whom filth was equal to gold, for whom space was equal to the palm of his hand, whose emotions had been cooled as if treated by a balm of sandalwood, and whose knowledge had rent open the shell. He attained knowledge, clairvoyance, and discerning wisdom. He turned his back on worldly gain, desires, and esteem, and was venerated, honored, and saluted by Indra and the gods who attend him. Sangharakshita said to the seers, Gentlemen, hold on to the corner of my robe, and we shall travel under my miraculous powers. The seers grabbed hold of his robe, and the venerable Sangharakshita, like a swan spreading its wings, flew with his miraculous powers up into the sky above. The Blessed One explains the reason for Sangharakshita's good fortune. In doubt, the monks asked, You who severs all doubts, the Blessed Buddha, Reverend, what is it that Sangharakshita has done, that the ripened fruit of that action has led him to be born into a rich household with ample wealth and possessions, to actualize arhatship, and to inspire the conversion of so many? Monks, replied the Blessed One, Sangharakshita himself performed the actions, which have accrued a heap of karma, whose results have matured, which follow their course like an irrigation channel, which inevitably come to be, so who else will experience the actions he himself has performed and accrued? Monks, actions which have been performed and accrued do not ripen upon the external elements. They do not ripen upon the element of water, upon the element of fire, nor upon the element of wind. Likewise, virtuous and non-virtuous actions which have been performed and accrued come to fruition upon the aggregates, elements, and seats of the senses of the one who performed them. For actions never waste away, not even after 100 eons. When the time and the conditions are right, they alight upon embodied beings. Monks, in a time now past, during this fortunate eon, when the lifespan of beings was 20,000 years, the blessed Buddha Kashyapa appeared in the world, a teacher, a Tathagata, an Arhat, a perfectly awakened Buddha, a knowledgeable and venerable one, a Sugata, one who knew the world, an unsurpassed guide who tamed beings, a teacher to gods and men. While the blessed Buddha Kashyapa lived and dwelt in the Rishipatana Deer Park near Varanasi, Sangharakshita went forth into his teachings and served as a custodian, living together with 500 others. Most of the community of people who lived in that hilly fastness came to have great faith in him. Though he lived purely his entire life, he never attained any of the store of qualities. Then one day he fell ill, and though he was ministered to with medicinal roots, stalks, leaves, flowers, and fruits, the illness would not subside. In despair, as he was dying, he made this prayer: "Though I have spent my entire life living the holy life under Kashyapa, the blessed Tathagata, perfectly awakened Buddha, and unsurpassed object of veneration, I have not attained any of the store of qualities. May these roots of virtue, from having spent my entire life living the holy life, ensure that I go forth into the teachings of the Buddha Shakyamuni, regarding whom the blessed Tathagata and perfectly awakened Buddha Kashyapa prophesied to the young Brahmin Uttara, saying, 'Young Brahmin, in the future, when the lifespan of beings is 100 years, you will become the Tathagata, the Arhat, the perfectly awakened Buddha, the knowledgeable and venerable one, the Sugata, the one who knows the world, the unsurpassed guide who tames beings, the teacher to gods and men, known as the blessed Buddha Shakyamuni, and go on to abandon all disturbing emotions and actualize arhatship.' The monk's caretakers, wards, then approached him and asked, 'Preceptor, have you attained any store of qualities?' 'No, I have not,' he replied. They asked, 'What prayers have you made?' He replied by explaining the prayer he had made. They said, 'May we too, by taking you, our preceptor, as our spiritual guide, go forth into the teachings of that very blessed one, and go on to abandon all disturbing emotions and actualize arhatship.' Monks, the monk who served as monk caretaker in that life was none other than the monk Sangharakshita. His 500 wards are none other than these 500 seers. The community of people who lived in that hilly fastness are none other than the 500 merchants. Hence, now the ripened fruit of the venerable custodian's action has led him to be born into a rich household with ample wealth and possessions. The prayers he made as he lay dying have led to his abandoning all disturbing emotions, actualize arhatship, and inspiring such a massive conversion. The ripened fruits of wholly negative actions are wholly negative, while the ripened fruits of wholly positive actions are wholly positive, and the ripened fruits of mixed actions are mixed. Monks, Therefore, abandon wholly negative and mixed actions, and seek wholly positive actions. Monks, this is how you should train. The Blessed One explained the reasons for the shape-shifting Naga's faith. In doubt, the monks asked he who has severed all doubts, the Blessed Buddha, Reverend, how did the youthful, shape-shifting Naga first gain faith? The Blessed One replied, Monks, during this fortunate eon, when the lifespan of beings was 20,000 years, the Blessed Buddha Kashyapa appeared in the world, a teacher, a Tathagata, an Arhat, a perfectly awakened Buddha, a knowledgeable and venerable one, a Sugata, one who knew the world, an unsurpassed guide who tamed beings, a teacher to gods and men. He lived and dwelt with a following of 20,000 monks in Rishipatana, Deer Park, near Varanasi. He taught the Dharma to his disciples, saying, Monks, make your beds in forests and at the foot of trees, in uninhabited places, mountain basins, mountain caves, and huts of straw, in the open, in charnel grounds, in jungles, at the foot of mountains, and at the edge of forests, and there practice meditation. Monks, apply yourselves conscientiously, and be sure you will have no regrets later. These are my instructions and my guidance. After the Blessed One said this to the monks went to make their bed in forests and at the foot of trees, in uninhabited places, mountain basins, mountain caves, and huts of straw, in the open, in charnel grounds, in jungles, at the foot of mountains, and at the edges of forests. Some practice meditation on the slopes of Sumeru. Some practice meditation on the 7 golden mountains. Some at Lake Anavatapta. Some along gently lapping ponds. And some in villages, towns, regions, countryside, and kingdoms, inhabited by like-minded yogis. Meanwhile, a young Naga, born not long before that, was carried off to the top shelf of Mount Sumeru by the Garuda Saparni. In time, the young Naga saw monks of Pacific bearing diligently, practicing meditation, recitation, and yoga. Seeing them caused great faith to well up in his mind. With his mind filled with faith, it occurred to him, these great and noble souls have been freed from suffering such as mine. The young Naga placed great faith in them, and eventually his time came, after which he was born into a Brahmin family dedicated to the 6 duties, and in time he grew up under their nurture and care. He later went forth into the perfectly awakened and blessed Buddha Kashyapa's teachings, and through diligence, effort, and exertion, abandoned all disturbing emotions and actualized arhatship. Thus he became an arhat, free of desire for the 3 realms, for whom filth was equal to gold, for whom space was equal to the palm of his hand, whose emotions had been cooled as if treated by a balm of sandalwood, and whose knowledge had rent open the shell. He attained knowledge, clairvoyance, and discerning wisdom. He turned his back on worldly gain, desires, and esteem, and was venerated, honored, and saluted by Indra and the gods who attend him. On wondering, whence have I come? Where have I been born? What actions led to this? He saw that he had been a creature who had died and passed on, had been born among humans, and that he had given rise to great faith and great disciples. He then thought of his mother and father from his previous life as a young Naga. On wondering, where are my parents? he saw that they were among the Nagas. On wondering, "What are they doing?" he saw that they were crying, still living among the Nagas. Using his miraculous powers, he went there and asked, "Father, Mother, why are you sad?" They replied, "Noble one, our young Naga was snatched shortly after his birth by the Garuda Suparni. We do not know where to look for him." He replied, "Father, Mother, I am he. After my time came and I died, I was born into a Brahmin family dedicated to the 6 duties. I then went forth into the perfectly awakened and blessed Buddha Kashyapa's teachings, and, through diligence, effort, and exertion, abandoned all disturbing emotions and actualized arhatship. Noble one, given the wretched form you had, we never imagined you in the higher realms, to say nothing of arhatship. This is indeed amazing and marvelous. Did you find or attain such a store of qualities? Noble one, you are an acceptor of alms, but we are seekers of merit. So every day you must come to this very place and take your meal before returning." After agreeing to that, every day he partook of ambrosia in the land of the Nagas before returning. Some monks asked his novice ward, "Novice, where does your preceptor eat and return from?" The novice ward replied, "I have not inquired." "If your preceptor partakes of ambrosia in the land of the Nagas before returning here, why do you not go with him?" "How could I accompany him when he uses his miraculous powers and great might to travel there?" "When he travels with his miraculous powers, hold on to the corner of his robe." "Will I not fall?" "Dear sir, even if you were to hang Mount Sumeru from the corner of his robe, it would not fall. What need is there to speak of you?" With their encouragement, the novice ward went to where his preceptor used his miraculous powers to disappear, and waited. When his preceptor disappeared, the novice ward grabbed hold of the corner of his preceptor's robe, and together they rose into the sky above. After a time, the Nagas caught sight of them and arranged 2 seats along with 2 plates of offerings for them. The preceptor thought, "Why have they set out this second seat and plate of offerings?" Looking behind him, he saw the novice and asked, "Son, you too have come?" "Yes, preceptor, I have." "Good." The Nagas thought, "This noble one has miraculous powers and great might, and so can digest divine ambrosia. But this noble novice cannot. We had better give him ordinary food." To the preceptor they gave divine ambrosia, but to the novice they gave ordinary food. Because the novice generally tended to the preceptor's begging bowl, he picked up the preceptor's begging bowl, and on doing so, saw that a single grain of rice had stuck to it. The novice put it in his mouth, and on tasting it, knew it to be divine ambrosia. He thought, "These Nagas are stingy. 2 sit down together, and to one they give divine ambrosia, but to the other they give ordinary food." Unable to bear it, he made a misguided prayer. May these roots of virtue from living the holy life, under the guidance of the perfectly awakened and blessed Buddha Kashyapa, an unsurpassed object of veneration, ensure that I be born right here after I have left this land of the Nagas. As prodigious and complete actions are not contingent on a change of body, in that very life water began to drip from the novice's hands, while the Naga host began to suffer a throbbing headache, prompting him to demand of the preceptor, "Noble one, this novice has given rise to an ignoble wish. Make him repudiate it." The preceptor said to the novice, "Son, reject your ignoble wish to be among them." Then the novice spoke this verse, This wish is so far-reaching. As I stay here in this land, with water falling from my hands, I lack the power to reject it." Thus he lost his life in the land of the Nagas, only to be reborn again in that very place. And that, monks, is how the youthful, shape-shifting Naga first gained faith. Tirthikas. The Blessed Buddha was staying in Shravasti, in the Jetavana, Anathapindana's park, when a Tirthika arrived at Jetavana. When this Tirthika saw the fine seats arranged there, and the array of communal food and drink, he thought, "As far as culinary pleasures are concerned, these ascetic sons of the Shakya have it good. But as far as the wealth of Dharma is concerned, ours is better. So I shall go forth and take my meals here, while taking my Dharma among my fellow Tirthika." With that thought, he approached a monk and said, "Noble one, I want to go forth." His going forth was allowed, and he was granted ordination. As the Tirthika restoration takes place on the 14th day of the month, while the monk's restoration takes place on the 15th day of the month, he would participate in the Tirthika's restoration on the 14th day, and the monk's on the 15th. After some time, a day was skipped, and the monk's restoration fell on the 14th, which caused him some consternation. Should I join them there, or participate in the restoration here? Then he had an idea. These ascetic sons of the Shakya are more easygoing, but my fellow brahmacharin are bad-tempered. If I don't join them, they may even split my tally stick, switch out my seat plank, overturn my alms bowl, throw out my staff, and expel me from among my fellow brahmacharin. And so he attended the Tirthika's restoration. Meanwhile, the disciplinarian stood at the end of the senior monk's row. When the monks were counted, the disciplinarian noted that the monk, who was still committed to his Tirthika order, was missing, so he asked, "Venerables, has the monk's name come or sent his consent?" "No." After looking around into the 4 directions, the Blessed One declared, "Let us perform the restoration." The monks then looked around them into the 4 directions and performed the restoration. Later that day, the monk arrived, and the monks asked him, "Venerable, where have you come from?" "From the company of my fellow brahmacharin." "Who are your fellow brahmacharin?" "The Tirthikas, for I enjoy my food with you and my Dharma with them." The monks then asked the Blessed One about it, and the Blessed One decreed, "Monks, this person is a convert to a Tirthika order. A person who is a convert to a Tirthika order will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. Therefore, you must banish from this Dharma and Vinaya those persons who are converts to a Tirthika order. If someone wishing to go forth approaches any of you, you should ask, 'You are not a convert to a Tirthika order, are you?' If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs." The Venerable Upali asked the Blessed One, "Reverend, since the Blessed One has said, 'You must banish from this Dharma and Vinaya those persons who are converts to a Tirthika order, then, Reverend, what is it that makes those persons who are converts to a Tirthika order fit for exclusion?" "Upali, he who bears this banner, while still being enamored with that view, invites the dusk, and for that alone you must banish from this Dharma and Vinaya those persons who are converts to a Tirthika order." Matricides. The Blessed Buddha was staying in Shravasti in Jetavana, Anathapindana's park, When a householder living in Sravasti took a wife of equal caste, and together they played with, took pleasure in, and amused one another. The wife with whom he had played, taken pleasure, and amused himself, then gave birth to a son, after which the householder said to her, "Noble one, our debts are spinning out of control and cutting into our savings, so I will take some merchandise to sell in another land." She replied, "Son of a lord, do as you wish." The householder departed with his merchandise for another land where, through indiscretion, he came to misfortune. And so his wife, with the help of relatives and by her own industry, fed and nurtured their son as he grew. In time the lad went with a peer to a house, where a girl sitting on the house's roof threw down a bouquet of flowers to catch his notice. His peer asked, "Friend, you haven't arranged a rendezvous at this house, have you?" "Indeed I have, and that is our signal," the lad replied. "Friend, this house is ill-omened. Don't go in. I warn you, through indiscretion you will come to suffering." The lad's friend then led him on a long detour that took the entire day, eventually leading him back to his mother, to whom the lad's friend said, "Ma'am, your son here has arranged a rendezvous at a girl's house. I have safeguarded him the whole day, but you must safeguard him through the night. That house is ill-omened. Do not let him go in. Beware. Through indiscretion you will come to suffering." She said, "Son, you have done well to inform me." She arranged a bed for her son in the house, along with 2 clay chamber pots, water, and fresh earth cover, and installed her son in the house, saying, "I myself will sleep on a cot by the door." "Mother, open the door." "Why, son?" "I must go out and urinate." "Son, I have placed a chamber pot there. Urinate in that." He sat down for a bit and then said, "Mother, open the door." "Why, son?" "I must go out and defecate." "Son, I have placed a chamber pot, water, and fresh earth cover there. Defecate in that." Again he sat for a bit before saying, "Mother, open the door." "Son, do you think I don't know where you want to go? I cannot open the door for you." "Mother, I shall kill you." "Son, I can face my own death, but I couldn't bear watching my son die." In the pursuit of passion there is nothing he would not do. His mind merciless, and forsaking all thought of future lives, he unsheathed his knife and cut off his mother's head at the neck, which tumbled to the floor. Having killed his mother, he left trembling like a man who has committed a sin. The girl with whom he had a rendezvous said to him, "Son of a lord, there is no one, there is no other girl but me. Do not be afraid." Thinking, "She will be pleased if I tell her what I've done," he said, "Noble woman, I have killed my mother for your sake." "What? Your wet nurse, or the woman who gave birth to you?" "The woman who gave birth to me." "He has killed his mother without regard for her importance to him," thought the girl. "What chance would I stand if at some point he became angry with me?" Then she said to the lad, "Son of a lord, please wait a moment while I climb up to the roof of the house." "Go ahead," he replied. On reaching the roof, she cried out, "A thief! A thief!" The lad, scared and frightened, fled back to his own house and laid his knife at the doorstep before crying out, "That thief has been here. He has killed my mother and fled." After performing rites of veneration over his mother's corpse, the lad left home, but a person who has done wrong finds no serenity. So he sought out Tirtika communities and communities of ascetics and asked, "Gentlemen, what can one do to expunge an evil act?" To that some said, "Immolate yourself." Some said, "Take poison." Some said, "Jump off a cliff." And some said, "Strangle yourself with a rope." All of them recommended some form of suicide. None could offer any means of expiation. Later, he went to Jetavana, where he posed his question to a monk, who recited a verse. He who has done some wrong may curb it through virtue, to bring light to this life, as the sun and moon appear from behind clouds. On hearing this verse, the lad thought, "Ah, even wrongdoing can be checked. I shall go forth among these people." He then approached the monk and said, "Noble one, I want to go forth." After his going forth was allowed and he was ordained, he applied himself diligently and began to recite the scriptures. In reciting and saying prayers, he recited and memorized the 3 Pitakas and gained the confidence born of knowledge and freedom. The monks asked him, "Venerable, what motivates such diligence in you?" "I must expunge a wrongdoing," he replied. "What wrongdoing are you guilty of?" "I killed my mother." "Your wet nurse or the woman who gave birth to you?" "My birth mother." The monks asked the Blessed One about it, and he said to the monks, "Monks, a person who has killed his mother is fit to be excluded from the community, for a person who has killed his mother will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. For that reason, monks, you should exclude from this Dharma and Vinaya those persons who have killed their mothers. If someone wishing to go forth approaches any of you, you should ask, 'Are you a matricide?' If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs." The monk who had killed his mother thought, "Where will I wind up? I must go into the wilds." And with that, he went into the wilds, where a householder became his follower. Out of deep devotion, the householder had a monastery erected for the monk, where monks from various regions and lands came to live, many of whom went on to actualize arhatship under his guidance. Some time later, the monk matricide fell ill. Although the other monks ministered to him with medicinal roots, stalks, leaves, flowers, and fruits, he continued to get worse. The monk matricide then told his wards, "Venerables, prepare a dry sauna for the Sangha and for me." His monk apprentices then prepared a dry sauna for him. All accumulation ends in depletion. All climbs end in falls. All meetings end in separation. All life ends in death. So his time came and he died, and he was reborn among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment. One of his Arhat wards entered into meditation to find out where his preceptor had been reborn, and began searching for him among the gods, but he did not see him there. Nor did he see him when he looked among humans, animals, and spirits. When he began to search among the denizens of hell, he saw that his preceptor had been reborn among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment. The Arhat ward wondered, if my preceptor was ethical, learned, and attracted a following with the Dharma, what did he do that it should lead him to be reborn among the denizens of Avicii? He then saw that it was matricide. Struck by the fiery light of Avicii, the monk matricide cried, "Oh, the heat in this dry sauna is too much." As soon as he cried out, the guardians of hell lifted their maces and clubbed him on the head, shouting, "Hapless fool, where is this dry sauna of yours? This is Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment." This virtuous thought brought the former monk's matricide's time in hell to an end, and he was reborn among the gods in the realm of the 4 great kings. It is in the nature of gods and goddesses who have 3 thoughts shortly after birth, where they have passed on from, where they have been born, and what action has caused that rebirth. Thence the former monk matricide saw he had passed from among the denizens of hell, and been reborn among the gods in the realms of the four great kings, due to his having washed the dry sauna for the Sangha. Then the young god, who had formerly been a denizen of hell, had this thought: "It would not be right of me to spend a day here without going to see and pay my respects to the Blessed One. Thus, before the day is out, I shall go to see and pay my respects to the Blessed One." The young god donned a pair of glittering hooped earrings that swung to and fro, adorned his body with 2 pearl necklaces, one long and one medium in length, filled the folds of his skirt with the dazzling colors of divine blue lotus flowers, lotuses, water lilies, and white lotuses, and when night had fallen, set out to see the Blessed One. On his arrival, he strewed the flowers before the Blessed One, and bowed his head at the Blessed One's feet before taking a place off to one side. The colors of the young god filled the whole of Jetavana with great light. As the young god sat on a seat, the Blessed One intuited his thoughts, propensities, disposition, and nature, and proceeded to teach the Dharma he needed to hear in order to fully realize each of the Noble One's 4 truths, thus actualizing the fruit of a stream enterer by decimating with the lightning bolt of wisdom the mountain of belief in the transient aggregates with its 20 tall peaks. Upon seeing the truth, the young god spoke his panegyric thrice: "Reverend, what the Blessed One has done for me, my father did not do for me, nor did my mother, nor did the king, nor did the gods, nor did my ancestors, nor did ascetics or Brahmins, nor did my circle of loved ones and friends, nor did my forebears. For the Blessed One has dried up the ocean of blood and tears, freed me from mountains of bones, shut the door to miserable realms, opened the door to higher realms and liberation, dragged me up by the leg from among the denizens of hell, animals and spirits, and installed me among gods and humans." The young god spoke again: "Because of you, the path to miserable realms of terrible and diverse punishments is blocked, and the road to higher realms of great merit has opened. I have even found the way to nirvana. By relying on you, one of utter purity, I have today gained flawless pure vision, have gained the pacific state pleasing to saints, and crossed over the seas of suffering. Honored in the world by demigods, gods, and men, free from birth, aging, illness, and death, to see you once in 1,000 lives is rare. Today, sage, seeing you has proven fruitful. As I bow with my necklace hanging low, prostrate at your feet, I feel jubilant. Circling the one who has tamed his enemies, I turn to the heavens and fly into the sky." The young god then departed like a trader who has made a profit, a farmer who has reaped his crops, a warrior who has won a battle, or an ill person who has been delivered from all his ills, and in the dress in which he arrived in the Blessed One's presence, returned home. One of the young god's former wards, an elder in the Sangha and an arhat, was seated in the meal row, while another of his wards was distributing water to the Sangha. After a time, the Sangha elder lifted his cup of water. It felt extremely cold to the touch of the tip of his fingers, and he thought, "While we drink water as cold as this, the preceptor drinks molten copper among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment." Yet when this arhat elder then searched for his preceptor among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment, his preceptor was nowhere to be seen. When the arhat elder searched for him among the animals, spirits, and denizens of other hells, he was nowhere to be seen there either. And so he began to search for him among the gods. There he saw that his preceptor had been reborn among the gods in the realm of the 4 great kings, and having become a god, saw the truth in the Blessed One's presence before returning to remain among the gods. Smiling, the Arhat elder gained faith in the Blessed One and spoke this panegyric. O Buddha, O Dharma, O Sangha, O the well-spoken Dharma, by which even wrongdoers, led into such fallen states, can attain such a collection of qualities. A student of the same preceptor saw him looking jubilant, pleased, and overjoyed, and asked, Venerable, are you so jubilant, pleased, and overjoyed by the thought that now that the preceptor's time has come, you are the Sangha elder? The Arhat elder replied, Venerable, now is not the time to answer your question. Ask me when we are among the Sangha, and that will prove the time to answer your question. Later, after the monks of the Sangha gathered and were seated, the Sangha elder asked their preceptor's student, Venerable, what was it you wanted to ask me? I asked you, Venerable, are you so jubilant, pleased, and overjoyed by the thought that now that the preceptor's time has come, you are the Sangha elder? While seated among the Sangha, the Arhat elder explained the situation at length to his fellow student. His fellow student then also rejoiced, as did the Sangha, who spoke this panegyric. O Buddha, O Dharma, O Sangha, O the well-spoken Dharma, by which even wrongdoers led into fallen states can attain such a collection of qualities. Patricides. The Blessed Buddha was staying in Shravasti in the Jetavana Anatabindana's park when a householder living in Shravasti took a wife of equal caste, and together they played with, took pleasure in, and amused one another. The wife with whom he had played, taken pleasure, and amused himself, later gave birth to a son. In time the lad went with a peer to a house, where a girl sitting on the house's roof threw down a bouquet of flowers to catch his attention. His peer asked, Friend, you haven't arranged a rendezvous at this house, have you? Indeed I have, and that is our signal, the lad replied. Friend, this house is ill-omened. Don't go in. I warn you, through indiscretion you will come to suffering. The lad's friend then led him on a long detour that took the entire day, eventually leading him back to his father, to whom the lad friend said, Sir, your son here has arranged a rendezvous at a girl's house. I have safeguarded him the whole day, so you must safeguard him through the night. That house is ill-omened. Do not let him enter. Beware, through indiscretion he will come to suffering. Son, you have done well to inform me. He arranged a bed for his son in the house, along with 2 clay chamber pots, water, and fresh earth cover, and installed his son in the house, saying, I myself will sleep on a cot by the door. Father, open the door. Why, son? I must go out to urinate. Son, I have placed a chamber pot there. Urinate in that. He sat down for a bit and then said, Father, open the door. Why, son? I must go out to defecate. Son, I have placed a chamber pot, water, and fresh earth cover there. Defecate in that. Again he sat for a bit before saying, Father, open the door. Son, do you think I don't know where you want to go? I cannot open the door for you. Father, I shall kill you. Son, I can face my own death, but I couldn't bear watching my son die. In the pursuit of passion there is nothing he would not do. His mind merciless and forsaking all thought of future lives, he unsheathed his knife and cut off his father's head at the neck, which tumbled to the floor. Having killed his father, he left, trembling like a man who has committed a sin. The girl with whom he had a rendezvous said to him, "Son of a lord, there is no one, there is no other girl but me. Do not be afraid." Thinking, "She will be pleased if I tell her what I have done," he said, "Noble woman, I have killed my father for your sake." "What? Your foster father, or the man who fathered you?" "The man who fathered me." The girl thought, "He has killed his father without regard for his importance to him? What chance would I stand if at some point he became angry with me?" Then she said to the lad, "Son of a lord, please wait a moment while I climb up to the roof of the house." "Go ahead." On reaching the roof, she cried out, "A thief! A thief!" The lad, scared and frightened, fled back to his own house and laid his knife at the doorstep before crying out, "The thief has been here. He has killed my father and fled." After performing rites of veneration over his father's corpse, the lad left home. But a person who has done wrong finds no serenity, so he sought out Tirtika communities and communities for ascetics and asked, "Gentlemen, what can one do to expunge an evil act?" To that, some said, "Immolate yourself." Some said, "Take poison." Some said, "Jump off a cliff." Some said, "Drown yourself." And some said, "Strangle yourself with a rope." All of them recommended some form of suicide. None could offer any means of expiation. Later he went to Jetavana, where he posed his question to a monk, who recited a verse. "He who has done some wrong may curb it through virtue, to bring light to this life, as the sun and moon appear from behind clouds." On hearing this verse, the lad thought, "Ah, even wrongdoing can be checked. I shall go forth among these people." He then approached the monk and said, "Noble one, I want to go forth." After his going forth was allowed and he was ordained, he applied himself diligently and began to learn the scriptures. In reciting and saying prayers, he recited and memorized the 3 Pitakas, and gained the confidence born of knowledge and freedom. The monks asked him, "Venerable, what motivates such diligence in you?" "I must expunge a wrongdoing," he replied. "What wrongdoing are you guilty of?" "I killed my father." "Your foster father, or the man who fathered you?" "The man who fathered me." The monks asked the Blessed One about it, and he said to the monks, "Monks, a person who has killed his father is fit to be excluded from the community. A person who has killed his father will not take root in this Dharma and Vinaya. For that reason, you should exclude from this Dharma and Vinaya those persons who have killed their fathers. If someone wishing to go forth approaches any of you, you should ask, 'Are you a patricide?' If you allow going forth without asking this, a breach occurs." The monk who had killed his father thought, "Where will I wind up? I must go into the wilds." And with that he went into the wilds, where a householder became his follower. Out of deep devotion, the householder had a monastery erected for the monk, where monks from various regions and lands came to live, many of whom went on to actualize arhatship under his guidance. Some time later, the monk patricide fell ill. Although the other monks ministered to him with medicinal roots, stalks, leaves, flowers, and fruits, he continued to get worse. The monk patricide then told his wards, "Venerables, construct a dry sauna for the Sangha and for me." His monk apprentices then built a dry sauna for him. All accumulation ends in depletion, all climbs end in falls, all meetings end in separation, all life ends in death. So his time came and he died, and he was reborn among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment. One of his Arhat wards entered into meditation to find out where his preceptor had been reborn, and began searching for him among the gods, but he did not see him there. Nor did he see him where he looked among humans, animals, and spirits. When he began to search among the denizens of hell, he saw that his preceptor had been reborn among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment. The Arhat ward wondered, if my preceptor was ethical, learned, and attracted a following with the Dharma, what did he do that it should lead him to be reborn among the denizens of Avicii? He then saw that it was patricide. Struck by the fiery light of Avicii, the former monk patricide exclaimed, "Oh, the heat of this dry sauna is too much." As soon as he cried out, the guardians of hell lifted their maces and clubbed him in the head, shouting, "Hapless fool! Where is this dry sauna of yours? This is Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment." This virtuous thought brought the monk's patricide time in hell to an end, and he was reborn among the gods in the realms of the four great kings. It is in the nature of gods and goddesses to have three thoughts shortly after birth: where they have passed on from, where they have been born, and what action has caused that rebirth. Thus the former monk patricide saw that he had passed from among the denizens of hell, and been reborn among the gods in the realms of the four great kings, due to his having washed the dry sauna for the Sangha. The young god then had this thought: it would not be right of me to spend a day here without going to see and pay my respects to the Blessed One. Thus, before the day is out, I shall go to see and pay my respects to the Blessed One. The young god donned a pair of glittering hooped earrings that swung to and fro, adorned his body with two pearl necklaces, one long and one medium in length, filled the folds of his skirt with the dazzling colors of divine blue lotus flowers, lotuses, water lilies, and white lotuses, and when night had fallen, set out for the Blessed One. On his arrival, he strewed the flowers before the Blessed One, and bowed his head at the Blessed One's feet, before taking a place off to one side. The colors of the young god filled the whole of Jetavana with a great light. Then, as the young god sat on a seat, the Blessed One intuited his thoughts, propensities, disposition, and nature, and proceeded to teach the Dharma he needed to hear in order to fully realize each of the Noble One's four truths. The young god then actualized the fruit of a stream enterer by decimating with the lightning bolt of wisdom the mountain of belief in the transient aggregates with its 20 tall peaks. Upon seeing the truth, the young god, whose patricide had led him to rebirth in hell, spoke this panegyric thrice: "Reverend, what the Blessed One has done for me, my father did not do for me, nor did my mother, nor did the king, nor did the gods, nor did my ancestors, nor did ascetics or Brahmins, nor did my circle of loved ones and friends, nor did my forebears. For the Blessed One has dried up the ocean of blood and tears, freed me from mountains of bones, shut the door to miserable realms, opened the door to higher realms and liberation, dragged me up by the leg from among the denizens of hell, animals and spirits, and installed me among gods and humans." The young god spoke again: "Because of you, the path to miserable realms of terrible and diverse punishments is blocked, and the road to higher realms of great merit has opened. I have even found the way to nirvana. By relying on you, one of utter purity, I have today gained flawless pure vision. I have gained the pacific state pleasing to saints, and crossed over the seas of suffering. Honored in the world by demigods, gods, and men, free from birth, aging, illness, and death. To see you once in 1,000 lives is rare. Today, sage, seeing you has proved fruitful. As I bow with my necklace hanging low, prostrate at your feet, I feel jubilant. Circling clockwise, he who has tamed his enemies, I turn to the heavens and fly into the sky. The young god then departed like a trader who has made a profit, a farmer who has reaped his crops, a warrior who has won a battle, or an ill person who has been delivered from all his ills, and, in the dress in which he arrived in the Blessed One's presence, returned home. One of the young god's former apprentices, an elder in the Sangha and an arhat, was seated in the meal row, while another of his apprentices was distributing water to the Sangha. After a time, the Sangha elder lifted his cup of water. It felt extremely cold to the touch of the tip of his fingers, and he thought, "While we drink water as cold as this, the preceptor drinks molten copper among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment." Yet when this arhat elder, a former apprentice of the monk patricide, then searched for his preceptor among the denizens of Avicii, the great hell of unrelenting torment, he was nowhere to be seen. When the arhat elder searched for his preceptor among the animals, spirits, and denizens of other hells, he was nowhere to be seen there either. And so he began to search for him among the gods. There he saw his preceptor had been reborn among the gods in the realm of the four great kings, and having become a god, saw the truth in the Blessed One's presence, before returning to remain among the gods. Smiling, the arhat elder gained faith in the Blessed One, and spoke this panegyric: "O Buddha, O Dharma, O Sangha, O the well-spoken Dharma by which even wrongdoers led into such fallen states can attain such a collection of qualities." A student of the same preceptor saw him looking jubilant, pleased, and overjoyed, and asked, "Venerable, are you so jubilant, pleased, and overjoyed by the thought that now that the preceptor's time has come, you are the Sangha elder?" "Venerable, now is not the time to answer your question. Ask me when we are among the Sangha, and that will prove the time to answer your question." Later, after the monks of the Sangha gathered and were seated, the Sangha elder asked the student of the same preceptor, "Venerable, what was it you wanted to ask me?" "I asked you, Venerable, are you so jubilant, pleased, and overjoyed by the thought that now that the preceptor's time has come, you are the Sangha elder?" While seated among the Sangha, the arhat elder explained the situation at length to his fellow student. His fellow student then also rejoiced, as did the Sangha, who spoke this panegyric: "O Buddha, O Dharma, O Sangha, O the well-spoken Dharma by which even wrongdoers led into fallen states can attain such a collection of qualities."